Hello, everyone. As usual, before we get started, I'm going to make a few quick announcements. I just want to make sure in the interest of language justice, we're going to be having a few different interpretations today. I want to let you know who they are and how to do that. So before we begin, I'd like to have Beatrice do her introduction.
Thank you, Ariana. Buenos días. Para todos aquellos que quieran escuchar esta audiencia pública en español, por favor, bajo de su pantalla verán que hay un globo terráqueo. Háganle clic al globo terráqueo. Seleccionen el idioma de español y después le hacen mudo al lenguaje original. Y recuerden que hoy habrá otros idiomas que ustedes pueden escoger. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Kathy with Korean.
안녕하십니까. 본 공청회는 동시 통역이 제공됩니다. 한국어 통역이 필요하신 분은 줌 화면 하단에 있는 지구본 아이콘을 누르시고 한국어를 선택해 주십시오. 감사합니다.
Thank you. Natasha with Russian.
Здравствуйте. Идет перевод этого заседания на несколько языков. Если вы хотите слушать русский язык, вы можете выбрать значок «Глобус» внизу экрана, interpretation или перевод, и там выбрать русский. Спасибо.
Thank you. Cynthia with Mandarin.
大家早上好，像往常一样，我们今天的会议有多种不同的语言，有西班牙语、韩国语、亚美尼亚语、普通话、广东话、菲律宾语、俄罗斯语、泰国语。大家如果需要选择相应的语言，请在屏幕下方的点击请点击地球仪选择你需要的语言。
Ariana, I think you were muted.
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that. Sona with Armenian.
Բարև ձեզ, հայերեն լեզվի թարգմանության կարիք ունենալու դեպքում խնդրում ենք սեղմել էկրանի ներքևում գտնվող գլոբուս կոճակը եւ ընտրել հայերեն տարբերակը։ Շնորհակալություն.
Sak with Thai.
สวัสดีครับผมชื่อศักดิ์นะครับมาเป็นล่ามแปลข้อความที่เกี่ยวกับวันนี้ที่มีการประชุมเกี่ยวกับเรื่องการแบ่งหรือจัดวางเรื่องแผนที่งานแบ่งเขตในการเลือกตั้งสภาของสมาชิกสภาของเทศบาลของ LA นี้นะครับวันนี้ถ้าท่านสนใจที่จะรับฟังนี่นะครับกรุณากดหมายเลขโทรศัพท์นะครับ11669254522นะครับที่เกี่ยวกับเรื่องนี้แล้วก็กดเครื่องหมายที่เป็นกากบาทนะครับสำหรับการเข้าร่วมประชุมถ้าท่านสนใจนะครับขอบคุณมากครับ
ศินภาเป็นล่ามคนไทยคนหนึ่งนะคะ
Thank you. Jane with Cantonese.
Hello， 大家早晨好，多謝晒你哋今日嚟參加我哋今日嘅會議。咁今日我哋嘅呢個會議咧都有好多種唔同語言嘅翻譯，所以如果我嘅名咧叫做 Jane， 我係你哋今日嘅廣東話翻譯員，仲有我嘅拍檔係 Wing。咁如果你哋咧需要廣東話嘅翻譯嘅話咧，係你哋嘅熒幕下邊咧有一個地球儀，如點擊下嗰個地球儀咧就可以選擇廣東話嘅語言啦。多謝晒你哋大家。
Excellent. And then can I have Jose with Tagalog? Oh, you're muted, Jose.
Kung nangangailangan kayo ng tulong sa pagsalin sa Tagalog, pakipindot lang po.
예, 안녕하십니까. 지금 계속해서 그 다른 언어
Pakipindot lang po ang mukhang mundo sa ilalim ng inyong screen at piliin ang salitang Tagalog. Salamat po.
Thank you. So for everyone, as usual, the way to do it is to go down to the bottom of your screen and select the language interpretation globe, which should be available now or very shortly once Rob gets that all set up. So thank you to our interpretation. We will also have closed captioning today provided by 2 closed captioners, one in English and one in Spanish. To get your closed captioning, go down to the bottom of the screen and there will be a closed caption icon. You select that and select English, and for Spanish, you can go to the link here. And with that, we will start the translation for the translation services, and I will hand it off to Chair Ali to open up.
Yes, thank you, Ariana, and welcome everyone. And before I ask for roll call, I just want to once again thank the public for their participation today. I see already over 200 people joining us. I, of course, want to thank the commissioners. We're going to confirm roll. We're going to confirm quorum in a minute, but I already understand we once again have a quorum for today's meeting. I want to thank the staff for the incredible hard work that they have been doing in putting these meetings together. And so thank you to the staff. And I also want to particularly thank all of our interpreters who are with us today and who have been with us in the past for their great work in ensuring language justice throughout their process. So with that, I want Ariana to call the roll.
Yes. Chair Ali,
I am here.
Vice Chair Diaz,
Here, and I believe some of our fellow commissioners are in the attendees list.
okay. Rob, if you can please help with that while I do roll call. Commissioner Anderson, Vice Chair Hyun,
Here.
Commissioner Barrett,
Present.
Commissioner Bremond,
Here.
Commissioner Brenes,
Present.
Commissioner Kanya,
Present.
Commissioner Delgadillo,
Here.
Commissioner Friedberg, Commissioner Katz,
Here.
Commissioner Lay,
Present.
Commissioner Martinez,
Present.
Commissioner Mitchell, here. Commissioner Membreño,
Present.
Commissioner Moreno,
Here.
Commissioner Polanco,
Here.
Commissioner Pritchard,
Here.
Commissioner Shaw,
Here.
Commissioner Suh,
Here.
and Commissioner Torres.
Here.
Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you much, Ariana. And I want to note that Commissioner Friedberg did contact me yesterday. She is traveling back from visiting with family on the East Coast and is going to try to connect between airports to the meeting. So, so let me, can we read the first agenda item into the record?
Yes, do we want to do disclosure of ex parte before?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was ahead of myself on my notes. Absolutely. So let's call for ex parte communication. Maybe I'll have another cup of coffee. Commissioner Barrett, I think I saw your hand go up. Commissioner Barrett, you're muted. We all need coffee.
I thought I clicked that off and yet I didn't. You'd think after nearly 2 years of Zooming that we'd all be quick draw on the unmute. Yesterday, October 8th at 8:52 a.m., I had a 10-minute conversation by phone with Jeremy Oberstein, Chief of Staff for Ron Galperin, LA City Controller. We discussed 2 topics. One, he congratulated me and Commissioner Katz on the redistricting webinar that we participated in with the Jewish Federation. On Thursday, that also involved LA County Citizens Redistricting Commission member Brian Stetcher. And he also thanked the commission and me personally for how frequently issues of equity and access to economic opportunity were being discussed by the commission, and reminded me of a tool that I wanted to also raise with the commission, which is the LA Equity Index, which is a data and mapping system created by the LA City Controller's Office that allows census tract by census tract to look at data related to socioeconomics, environment, education, and access to resources. So some of the things that we've been discussing about where certain economic engines might sit and what the implications of that might be, and also how to know where the most rent burden portions of our population reside, that data can all be found in the Equity Index. And I provided the website to staff.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Barrett. Commissioner Shaw.
Yes, on October the 7th at 1:12, I spoke with Solomon Rivera, briefing him on our October 6th meeting and what transpired. Later that day at 1:50, I received an email from Rhonda Mitchell from CD8, who was introducing herself and mentioning the need for public education and community outreach. And then finally, yesterday at 3:54, again, I talked with Solomon Rivera about this upcoming meeting and just general community outreach efforts.
Thanks, Commissioner Shaw. Other disclosures? Okay, I'm not seeing the other disclosures. Thank you very much. So now can we read the first agenda item into the record, please?
Item number 1, summary of commission draft map, public hearing to gather testimony on commission draft map.
Thank you, Ariana. And so before I open up the public testimony, just a couple opening comments. Today, the purpose of today's public hearing is to take comments on the draft map plan K2.5, which was approved by the commission for presentation to the public at our September 30th meeting. This is the second of 4 hearings on the draft map. In addition, today we have hearings scheduled on October 13th and October 16th. Looking ahead, the commission has also scheduled a new meeting October 18th, Monday, October 18th, to further consider comments from the public and potential modifications to map plan K2.5. And then on October 21st, the commission is scheduled to approve the final map for submission to the city council. I also want to remind members of the public that in keeping with this commission's commitment to an open, respectful, and data-driven process, we prepared, following our September 30th meeting, a list of map features and issues related to map K2.5, inviting specific public comment on those issues. The list was compiled based on the advice that commission members provided, as I said, at our September 30th meeting. And again, this is not intended as an exhaustive list. If you do not see your issue on that list, don't be too concerned. We are certainly taking your public comments on other issues very seriously as we march through these hearings. Leading up to tonight's meeting, this commission has had 17 separate public community of interest hearings. We've taken testimony at each of our regular and special meetings. We've also received a tremendous amount of written testimony, including public community impact statements. We've attempted, as I hope people understand, to reach out to as many residents as we possibly can, and with a special focus on hard to reach populations. I want to stress that the approach this commission has taken is to center data, public testimony, as well as laws like the Voting Act that govern redistricting in our decision-making approach. Our approach to line drawing has been used to use neighborhoods, neighborhood council boundaries, and communities as our building blocks. We have intentionally stayed away from how our line drawing might advantage or disadvantage a particular elected official, because that kind of line drawing would violate the principles we established and have continued to refine throughout our process. At the beginning of this process, we consulted with various civic organizations with a history of redistricting, engagement, and advocacy. They shared with us their guiding values, adherence to voting rights principles, and best practices on community outreach. At our last public hearing, we heard from one of those organizations we initially consulted with, Asian Americans Advancing Justice. At upcoming hearings, we will also hear from MALDEF and the Jewish Federation. Today, we have scheduled a short presentation from the People's Bloc. Now, the People's Bloc, and this is taken from their website, is a multiracial table dedicated to the inclusion of everyday residents, conducting public education and proposing solutions to the redistricting process that promote the political voice, representation, and access to resources of historically underrepresented groups. And as I mentioned in my earlier part of my introduction, this commission has been particularly focused on reaching out to hard-to-reach populations and groups that may have been left behind in past redistricting efforts. So joining us today, I'm happy to say it's Leslie Johnson, the Vice President of Organizational Development at Community Coalition, Aaron Robertson, the Director of Political Voice at the Advancement Project, and Jessica Panuro, the Civic Engagement Coordinator at Inner City Struggle. And they're going to be, they collectively have 10 minutes to speak. So I think, Leslie, we may be starting with you. Thank you for joining us, and look forward to your presentation.
Thank you. Yes, I'll be starting the presentation. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Great. Is this red square going to go away?
If you want to try to, are you able to share your screen, Leslie?
I don't have the presentation that we're showing. Someone else has it.
Well, we can hear you fine. We can't see you.
Okay.
But if you would like to begin.
Sure. Good morning, commissioners. Thank you for your service and for this opportunity. My name is Leslie Johnson, and I'm Vice President at Community Coalition, which is the convening organization of the People's Bloc, a multiracial table of 34 community-based organizations from across the city. The purpose of the People's Bloc is to ensure the redistricting process is rooted in shared progressive values and includes substantive grassroots leadership. To that end, the work of the People's Bloc has been guided by 3 core principles. Number 1, equity and solidarity, prioritizing people and communities that have been historically oppressed and ignored, and being unified around the leveraging of this process as an opportunity to dismantle tools of white supremacy. Number 2, community participation, ensuring that voices traditionally not included in the redistricting process are substantively integrated. Author and activist Alice Walker wrote, "The most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any." So it was very important for us to engage everyday people and empower them to be involved in this process that will impact their lives and their children's lives for the next 10 years. And finally, principle number 3, centering of power building organizations. Throughout the process, we have prioritized the inclusion of groups that work directly with BIPOC communities and are committed to base building and leadership development. The plans for the People's Bloc began to form in the fall of 2020 in the midst of the pandemic, and the collective has met regularly for the past 8 months. The 34 organizations came together because they represent communities of interest who are determined to correct problems from the previous redistricting process, where communities were broken up into 2 or more council districts like Koreatown, or lost vital economic drivers, which sadly exacerbated the decades of public and private disinvestment in areas like South Los Angeles. The work of the People's Bloc has been both challenging and consuming, and all partners have shown up with passion and commitment to represent their communities of interest. I'd like to publicly thank all of the People's Bloc organizations for their dedication and for leaning into this work. We have engaged 144 everyday residents in this very much under the radar process, conducting 15 political education workshops and tirelessly proposing and refining solutions that will help us achieve our ultimate goal: increased power and representation for BIPOC communities. To that end, we are eager to share with you our proposed upgrades to MAP K 2.5, anchored by 4 key priorities. I will cover the first 2 priorities. Can you switch the slide, please? Priority number 1, preserve assets of District 8 and maintain 50% plus Black CVAP. The recommendation for map K2.5 is to join USC plus the museums to CD8 and maintain them all in CD8. The second priority, preserve assets of District 9 and keep Black CVAP above 20%. The recommendation for map K2.5 is to extend the LA Live asset in CD9. 10 years ago, communities in South LA were deprived of important assets. Downtown was removed from CD9, USC and Exposition Park were removed from CD8. These important economic engines and cultural assets were taken from South LA communities, and the impact has been devastating for our families. Our community has endured divestment from local governing bodies for too long and is adamant that their voices be heard and centered through this redistricting cycle. As commissioners, you have all heard the importance and that desire from residents to bring resources back that were taken away from the 8th and the 9th council districts. In addition, you have heard the importance of protecting the 3 Black council districts. Council District 8 is a Civil Rights Act district and will continue to be a Black district for a foreseeable future. We believe that Black people should be full and valued participants in the city, and a vital way to move toward that is by having assets returned to CD8. It is critical for the Commission to take a stand, to bring back the assets lost 10 years ago, and to center equity, compassion, and morality in its decision-making, even when it is difficult or unpopular to do so. As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, the time is always ripe to do right. Now I'd like to turn the presentation over to Aaron Robertson, Director of Political Voice at Advancement Project California, to share a map that will achieve the priorities I just described. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Advancement Project California serves as the mapping and data analyst arm for the People's Bloc. Our submission and the following lines were drafted with the inclusion of COIs from our 34 members, equity indicators, and an analysis of the VRA Section 2 guidelines. The map in front of you demonstrates how small adjustments to the K2.5 map can incorporate the priorities Leslie shared. As you see, the primary difference is the boundary where District 8 and District 9 meet. Shifting this boundary allows us to protect priority community assets in District 8 and District 9. Represented by the 3 yellow star icons, the People's Bloc Solidarity Map has Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall in District 8, as it does in K2.5, but it has moved USC to District 8, and it extends LA Live's boundary to 7th Street in District 9. Shifting these lines allows us to move these assets while maintaining Black CVAP above 50% in District 8 that now includes USC. I will now hand it to Jessica from Inner City Circle to share additional priorities from the block.
Thank you. Our priority number 3 is to keep the communities of Boyle Heights, El Sereno, and Lincoln Heights together. Our recommendation for map K2.5 is to join all of Lincoln Heights into CD14. The Commission should consider the unique history of the east side of Los Angeles and unite these neighborhoods into a single council district. The east side of Los Angeles is connected via vital cultural commonalities as immigrant roots. The east side community has also experienced racial injustice and has been catalyst of social movement. To further empower this historic community, Lincoln Heights should be united with the rest of the east side into a single district. These vibrant communities are comprised primarily of essential workers, and the COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated pre-existing structural inequities. As we ambition and just recovery for the east side of Los Angeles, equitable representation of our community will be really critical. Representatives that prioritize the community's needs will be essential. The unification of the historic east side will ensure the effective responsiveness of collective need and aspirations. And by keeping Lincoln Heights with the rest of the East LA communities such as El Sereno and Boyle Heights that are located in CD14, Lincoln Heights being kept together in the People's Bloc map as we are raising the Latinx CVAP will increase from 55 to 55.73 as opposed to 53.70% from the city. For our priority number 4, keeping Chinatown and Little Tokyo whole and together, this is a recommendation for 2.5 to join all of Chinatown under CD14. Chinatown is one of the oldest communities in Los Angeles and is home to immigrants, elderlies, working class, and families of color. The current boundaries of Chinatown have been shaped by historic racist land use practices that have left legacies of predatory development and gentrification. For residents to stand a chance in advocating for communities' needs and better resources, Chinatown must remain whole together in one council district. Located at 600 North Broadway, 1 block south of the proposed CD1 boundary, Cathay Manor is a senior housing made up of elderly, income-restricted disabled Asian immigrants with limited to no English. These residents are valued members of the Chinatown community. They attend to all their needs in Chinatown, where they can get around and speak in their native language. Please do not separate Chinatown into two districts. They are a community. Cathay Manor needs to be in CD1 with the rest of their neighborhoods. The new map proposes the relocate of the boundary of CD1 and Chinatown from Cesar Chavez and Alameda Street to Hill and Ord Street. This splits the historic community into two. The new boundary separates the iconic gateway status as well as many other residents from the Chinatown. To keep Chinatown and Little Tokyo whole together, the People's Block maps keeps Little Tokyo and Chinatown whole, which raises Asian CBAP into CD14 to 70%, as opposed to the CD map, which is 5%. Thank you very much. Now I'll pass it on to Erin to show us how we could do this in our proposed maps.
Thank you, Jessica. Aligned with the priorities Jessica just shared, the People's Block map demonstrates how adjustments to K2.5 can keep COIs whole by pushing the District 14 boundary to the 101 freeway and moving Eagle Rock to District 1. We are able to keep Eastside communities of Boyle Heights, El Sereno, and Lincoln Heights together in CD14, represented in the green COIs on the screen, as well as keep Chinatown whole and in the same district as Little Tokyo, represented as red COIs on the screen. These maps have been submitted through the formal process for further review from the Commission. With that, we want to thank you for your time and considerations of our map adjustments.
So thank you very, very much, Erin, Leslie, and Jessica for your presentation today. It's really appreciated. And I just, on behalf of the Commission, want to thank the People's Block for your ongoing partnership in our outreach efforts and your active participation in this process. So thank you very, very much. And with that, I think I want to move to public testimony. And I understand we have a number of neighborhood councils who are scheduled to present initially. So can we move to public testimony now, please?
Definitely, Chair Ali. We have 5 neighborhood councils who have requested to speak at today's public hearing. But we also want to provide members of the public with an opportunity to sign up for future opportunities to hear from neighborhood councils at our meeting. So throughout today's meeting, we're going to share some information. We'll do a screen share and give you all a way to figure out how to join the meetings in the future as well if you are a neighborhood council that would like to speak at our upcoming hearings. Our first hearing member that we'd like, first neighborhood council that we're going to hear from is the Encino Neighborhood Council, followed by the historic Highland Park Neighborhood Council, then Silver Lake Neighborhood Council. So Encino Neighborhood Council, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll have up to 2 minutes to give your public testimony.
Thank you. So some neighborhood councils were able to speak 2 other times and we were not recognized. So they would have basically gotten a total of 4 minutes from those 2 times. I am representing Patricia Bates, who is the president of the Encino Neighborhood Council, to present the following statement. The reason subsequent community impact statements have been filed is the plan names, if not the goalposts, have been moved. The majority of the Encino Neighborhood Council voted for a preference for the prior map C2, which is a Southwest Valley area district, which included Encino, bounded by Victory Boulevard to the north, 405 to the east, Mulholland to the south, and Lindley Avenue to the west. This configuration was reflected in successor map K. The detailed vote and further details are included in our previous CIS. The subsequent map K2 and K2.5, otherwise similar to K, moves virtually all of the 2,150 acre Sepulveda Basin to an adjoining district. We do not understand why. The acreage that includes the Sepulveda Basin has been considered part of Encino for over 150 years and is currently included in the Encino Neighborhood Council's boundary, including, according to the official LA City Department of Engineering map. The Encino Neighborhood Council has submitted a community interest statement, which includes substantially all of the basin in its COI. Many residents have called in describing as to why the Sepulveda Basin should be included in the same district Encino. This includes most of the significant issues of fire and crime. Many in Encino have received evacuation notices as a result of fires in the basin due to unchecked vegetation. Some of the Encino communities are separated from the basin, which is now in a current council district, by only a property line or a street. The Encino Neighborhood Council has participated in the operation and maintenance of the Sepulveda Basin Wildlife for many years. I'll just wrap up and just say, excluding the basin from the Encino Council District is not fair to Encino or to the Sepulveda Basin, and we ask that it be included by extending the northerly boundary line to Victory Boulevard to the 405 freeway. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good to hear from the Encino Neighborhood Council. And just for a point of clarity, we just wanted to mention that the neighborhood councils who had spoken previously before had submitted 2 different community impact statements. So we now are going to hear from the historic Highland Park Neighborhood Council. So go ahead and unmute yourself and you'll have up to 2 minutes to give your comments as well.
Hi, everybody. My name is Duncan Gregory. I'm the current president of the Historic Highland Park Neighborhood Council. We come with the following core requests. Keep CD1 and CD14 boundaries in Highland Park the same. Keep the Highland Park Neighborhood Council that is currently within CD14 in CD14. If you change CD1, do not take from CD14 in Highland Park to make up for the lost population. Overwhelmingly, in comments and community interest statements, Highland Park residents in CD14 requested to remain in CD14. They also requested that Highland Park be placed in a single council district. Since this request has been ignored, the least we can do is honor their other request to keep Highland Park residents of CD14 in CD14. Please keep the CD14 portion of Highland Park together with its allied neighboring communities, Eagle Rock, El Sereno, Boyle Heights, as they have been for decades. Do not change these boundaries. Do not divide our major streets and boulevards in half. This is unfair to our businesses and residents. It will dilute their influence. Keep both sides of York Boulevard from Avenue 49 to the South Pasadena boundary in CD14. Keep both sides of Figueroa from our border with Eagle Rock down to York Boulevard in CD14. Figueroa's southwest portion below York Boulevard to South Avenue 60 is currently in CD14. It should remain in CD14. Keep the Highland Park Senior Center in CD14. Keep the Tiny Homes Project at Arroyo Seco Park in CD14. Councilmember Kevin De Leon initiated this project. We need Councilmember De Leon's leadership to make sure this project is a success for both our unhoused residents and for the community that live around this project. Our community of Highland Park has faced many difficulties. Our community is the 31st densest community in the 265 of the Los Angeles County. Our community has been heavily impacted by gentrification. Many of our community members are essential workers, and we lost 108 residents to COVID-19. People are having trouble paying their ever-rising rents. We have a growing unhoused population. We object to the ways that Map K 2.5 treats our majorly Latinx community of Highland Park. It appears that our community is being used to balance out the requests of wealthier communities to make population numbers work without any regard to political impacts it will have on our community members. Please reconsider this.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up.
All right.
Go ahead and you can make your final statement. Go ahead.
We make up a community of interest that deserves representation, that does not relegate a part of our community to an inferior status. Please reconsider this map, especially having to do with the Arroyo Seco Park Tiny Homes Village.
Thank you very much. All right. Great to hear from the Historic Highland Park Neighborhood Council folks. Now we are going to hear from the we're going to try to hear from the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council community and the Foothill Trails District Neighborhood Council. So we're actually going to give Foothill Trails Neighborhood Council an opportunity to make their comment next. Our next speaker will be from Foothill Trails. You can go ahead and unmute yourself now, and you'll have up to 2 minutes to give your comment.
Thank you, commissioners. I appreciate your time. I apologize for any background noise. My wife and I are celebrating our anniversary at Universal, but I thought it was important to speak today, even though it's going to probably cost me a very expensive shopping spree. Our neighborhood council is asking the commission to redraw the lines for the southwest corner of CD7 in order to retain the communities of Shadow Hills and Latunia Canyon in CD7. As three of only a handful of communities in the city dedicated to preserving the equestrian lifestyle, it is best to preserve the optimum representation by keeping Lakeview Terrace, Shadow Hills, and Latunia Canyon, which have so much in common, in a single council district. These areas are largely scarcely populated, so our calculations show that would not push CD7 over its maximum. As one of the few undeveloped areas which remain within the city of Los Angeles, we fear that dividing our representation between council districts will leave our communities vulnerable to overdevelopment. The recent passage of Senate Bill 9 and Senate Bill 10 has made this threat even greater. Recent disastrous fires have also demonstrated that these communities have more in common than their urbanized neighbors to the south. Under mutual threat, these communities band together to confront a common danger. The 2000 redistricting map divided the neighborhood councils between two council districts, resulted in diluted representation and diminished response to the concerns of these communities from City Hall. Preserving the current levels of representation will benefit all concerns, and we ask the commission's consideration on our request. Thank you. I yield the remainder of my time.
Thank you very much. Just wanted to make sure. Thank you very much for your comments. Great to hear from the Foothill Trails District Neighborhood Council. Now, we did hear from two other neighborhood council that said they wanted to give testimony. We're trying to see if we can get them an opportunity, get a chance to hear from them. The next person we're going to hear from is going to be part of the North Area Neighborhood Development Council, I believe.
That's correct. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Good morning, commissioners. I am Thyris Mason, and I am president of our neighborhood council. We serve the neighborhoods of the Adams Normandy, Exposition Park, parts of Jefferson Park, King Estates, University Park North, University Park West, and parts of West Adams. Our general board meeting did take place on Thursday, October 7th, and from that forum, we submit the following remarks with respect to draft map K 2.5. Map K 2.5 places our neighborhood council into 3 council districts. We ask that you not leave us divided by 3. Afford us the same consideration you have other neighborhood councils and place us into 1 or 2 city council districts. We call for the return of the Staples Center and LA Live assets to Council District 9. These assets are part of South Park and as currently placed are disconnected from the remainder of the South Park community. We submit that uniting the South Park community under Council District 9 and returning these assets to that district will improve the economic base of an underserved community, and that doing so would be aligned with your principles and a criteria of not splitting neighborhoods into multiple council districts. We support the return of the USC University Park campus and Exposition Park assets to Council District 8. We challenge you to explore the reasons why these assets were removed from the district 10 years ago. If those reasons are incompatible with your present values, then a correction is in order. City 8 has long been underdeveloped and underserved, and now is the time to redirect its trajectory towards the intersection of economic purity and hope by returning these important cultural and economic assets, the heart and soul of our neighborhood council community, to its fold. Doing so would also afford our neighborhood council increased leverage in addressing the rampant student housing development and the resultant displacement, which have become prevalent in our community. Thank you for your consideration, and I yield my time.
Thank you very much. Good to hear your comments from the North Area Neighborhood Development Council. As we mentioned before, we had heard from one more neighborhood council, but we do not see that they're present now to make these comments. So we are going to go ahead and move on, and going to ask Ariana Jukes from the commission staff to come and make an announcement. Ariana?
Thank you. Yes. So if you are a neighborhood council, you have to submit a community impact statement prior to the meeting. That means you've met with your board, you've made a decision on the map, and if you submit it to the city clerk, then you will be able to speak on behalf of your neighborhood council. And then I just wanted to, before we go into public testimony, share with you all just another way to submit written testimony. Not everyone is able to speak today or has the time or even the comfort to speak in front of 236 attendees that we have. So in order to do so, you are welcome to go to our website and where it says submit map feedback. And I'm also going to share right now with you all the bit.ly link, just so that you can have access to this. And to do so is here. Anytime throughout the process, anytime throughout today, we are accepting feedback. And with that, I will turn it back to Rob. The link can be found here, bit.ly/map-feedback-LA. Rob?
Thank you very much, Ariana. Chair Ali, would you like to open up public comment now?
Yes, please. Let's open up for public comment.
All right, in conformity with the state law AB 361, and due to concerns over COVID-19, the Los Angeles City Council Redistricting Commission meetings will be conducted entirely virtually and telephonically. Members of the public who would like to offer public comment via Zoom webinar on the items listed on the agenda should click on the raise hand function to request to speak, and you'll be added to our speakers list. Members of the public who would like to offer public comment on the items listed on the agenda that are calling in over the phone should press *9, and then you'll be able to join our speakers list that way. As I mentioned before, you can go to our website, laccrc2021.org, to also give us public comments and feedback on our maps. I'd now like to introduce Harit Trivedi from the City Attorney's Office to go over ground rules for public comments. Harit?
Thank you, Rob. We'd like to explain a few ground rules for public comment this morning to ensure that we have a fair and efficient process for this hearing. The Commission shall provide an opportunity for members of the public to address the Commission on the public input agenda item for 1 minute per speaker, plus additional time to translate comments by non-English speakers. To members of the public calling in to provide public comment, when it's your turn to speak, we will announce your name, the last 3 digits of your phone number, or other identifying information. Once we've announced your name or your phone number or identifying information, then you're live in the meeting and it's your turn to speak. Please immediately unmute yourself. We understand that you may be listening to the broadcast of the meeting on the internet or another device. Because there's a time delay between the live meeting and the broadcast, please keep 1 ear on your phone so that you can hear when we announce the last 3 digits of your number or your name or identifying information, and that you can immediately unmute yourself by pressing *6. Otherwise, we might think you're no longer on the line and move on to the next speaker. Also, if you're listening to the broadcast of the meeting on another device, please immediately turn down the volume of that broadcast on that device to avoid feedback and confusion because of the time delay. The purpose of this morning's public hearing is to receive public input on the Commission's draft map. The presiding officer may rule that a speaker is out of order if the speaker's comments are not germane to the item under consideration or are overly repetitive. If a speaker remains out of order, the presiding officer may declare the speaker is impeding the orderly conduct of the meeting and rule the remainder of the speaker's time forfeit, and we'd move on to the next speaker. Finally, I'd like to warn you, commissioners and members of the public, that some members of the public may choose to use modes of expression that are offensive or vulgar, including the use of racial epithets. Some of that content is First Amendment protected speech, and there's little that we can do but hear it. Members of the public, however, may choose to turn down the volume of the broadcast during public comment if they do not wish to listen to any vulgarities or offensive language. With that, I'll pass it back to the chair.
Thank you very much, Harit. And with that, let's open up the queue to public testimony.
All right, thank you very much, Chair Ali. Good morning, everyone. We'd love to hear from you. As we mentioned earlier, we are broadcasting today's meeting live on YouTube and in several different languages: Cantonese, Mandarin, Tagalog, Spanish, Russian, Korean, Thai, Armenian, and English. So please, anyone, if you feel you have something to say, go ahead and speak in whatever language you're comfortable with. And if you would like to hear it in your preferred language, once again, press the language button at the bottom and choose the preferred language, and everything will be translated automatically for you. As we also mentioned, we want to hear from everyone, so we're going to announce your name first to give you a chance to prepare your comments. And if we don't hear from you right away, we may come back to you, but we may not. So please try to be ready when we call your name. And if we hear a little bit of feedback, as we mentioned before, we're going to kind of interrupt you and ask you to turn something down. But other than that, we'd like to hear from you all right away. So our first group are going to include the following names: Terry Tippett, Frank Godinez, and Alan Antonio. So Terry Tippett, go ahead and unmute yourself. And when you do, you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment.
Hello, Terry Tippett, president of West of Westwood Boulevard HOA, representing 1,200 households in Rancho Park, and our members are West Side Neighborhood Council stakeholders. We support MAP K 2.5. We have successfully worked for decades with our neighboring residential associations to address issues impacting our community. In 1991, WAHO was placed in CD 5, 6, and 11. In 2000, WAHO was wholly replaced back in CD 5, with CD 6 moving to the Valley. We urge you to keep WAHOA and WNC in one district so we can continue to have a united voice when representing our members. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Our next speaker, Frank Godinez, go ahead and unmute yourself and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment. Our next speaker is Frank Godinez. Go ahead.
Everyone. Good morning. My name is Frank Godinez of District 9, South Central LA. I'm a first-year student at the University of California, Los Angeles, and this morning I'm calling in to express my disapproval of proposed draft map K 2.5 because of its failure to keep vital economic engines within District 9 lines, the poorest district in the city of Los Angeles. Given that this district is already rife with parasitic businesses, liquor stores, dispensaries, removing economic engines, including but not limited to USC, would only hurt the people of District 9, particularly the low-income Black and Brown families that already struggle with issues such as food insecurity, the lack of access to equitable education, and the rising cost of living due to gentrification. Once again, please keep Districts 8 and 9 as they are. Thank you, and I yield my time.
Thank you very much, speaker. Our next speaker is Alan Antonio, followed by Angelique Evans and Elizabeth Lovins. So Alan Antonio, you're our next speaker. You'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment.
Hello, just testing that I'm good on my.
We hear you loud and clear.
Awesome, thank you so much. Hello, I'm calling in as a concerned community member from City District 9. It really frustrates me to hear when we were talking about equity, and then removing things like USC away from our district, which District 9, because District 9 is already the poorest district out of the city of LA, and literally removing things away like USC and other like main source of like our economy will literally destabilize parts of our districts. And then sense will just, I don't see how it's like fully, it honestly sounds like if other districts just want a good come up in the loss of other districts. But I'd request for the districts 9 and 8 to stay as they are, as both of them are poor. And, they do need to prioritize reinvesting and investing in their own districts. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speakers are going to include the following names: Angelique Evans, Elizabeth Lovins, and Emmy Farrow Herman, or Emmy Farrow German. So Angelique Evans, you're our next speaker. When you unmute yourself, go ahead and unmute yourself. We'd love to hear from you, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment. So once again, Angelique Evans, you're our next speaker. You can unmute yourself. There you are. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, excuse me. Good morning, Commissioner. My name is Angelique Evans. I am a proud member of the Community Coalition. I'm also a resident and I work in South LA. I specifically would like to talk about CDA 9 and 10 today. South LA has been impacted by decades of disinvestment and racist policies. We do not want to see what happened 10 years ago repeat itself when CDA and CD9 were cut off from the assets. I would like to see real racial and justice equity. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, speaker. Our next speaker is Elizabeth Lovins. Elizabeth Lovins, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment as well.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. I'm in support of K2.5. However, in honor of Tom LaBonge Day, please return Los Feliz' official cultural assets in areas such as the Oaks, Griffith Park, Los Feliz Hills, and Waverly Heights. It's also crucial for the commissioners to add back in our official historic cultural monuments such as Griffith Park Observatory, the Greek Theater, Los Feliz Adobe, Mulholland Fountain, Los Feliz HCM deodar trees from Riverside to Western, the zoo, the Gene Autry Museum, the merry-go-round, and more. Do not divide our historic community. This would be extremely damaging and detrimental to the community, especially during the pandemic. Also, it's immoral to disenfranchise thousands of diverse residents and voters, renters and homeowners in CD4 to accommodate one council person who has only lived in LA for 4 years. We have a large Armenian, Sikh, Asian, Jewish, and Latino communities. I myself am from one of the earliest Jewish families who settled here in Hollywood and Los Feliz in 1910. Do not listen to the radicalized DSALA and ground game callers who do not live here and want
you,
to
Speaker. Your
gentrify our
time is up.
community. Commissioners, please listen to us.
Thank you, Speaker. Our next speaker is Emmy Farrell German. Emmy Farrell German, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll have up to 2 minutes to give your comment. Up to 1 minute to give your comment.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Emmy Farrow-Gurman. I'm with the Community Coalition. I work in South LA and I am a USC student. I would specifically like to talk about CD 8, 9, and 10. South LA has been impacted by decades of anti-Black disinvestment and policies. 10 years ago, CD 8 and CD 9 were cut off from assets. I would like to see real racial justice and equity. This means preserving assets in District 8 and to keep it a 50% +1 Black CVAP. The proposed city map does not include assets like USC and CD 8, preserve assets of CD 9, and keep the Black CVAP above 20%. Keep neighborhoods together in CD 10 and keep Black CVAP above 20%. I support the People's Block map. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'm now going to announce our next group of speakers. They're going to include the following names: Jennifer DeVore, Sam Wasserman, Pastor William Smart Jr., and Nyan Kang. So our next speaker, Jennifer DeVore, go ahead and unmute yourself now, and you'll have up to a minute to give your comment.
Hi, my name is Jennifer DeVore. I'm a 25-year resident of Hancock Park, where I serve on the Hancock Park Homeowner Association and am the Hancock Park rep on the GWNC. I'm speaking for myself. I want to thank the Commission for your diligence in ensuring that this process is transparent, data-driven, and not politically gerrymandered. The K2.5 map is based on weeks of public input, census data, and state and federal voting right protections. The Commission's work thus far has been a bulwark against a vocal minority pushing to advance the political goals of a sitting council member. I support map K2.5 because it creates a unified CD5, including Hancock Park, the GWNC, and includes us with our communities of interest to the west. With these communities, we share historic designations, religious affiliations and institutions, similar zoning issues, as well as numerous parks. Thanks again for all your work.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Our next speaker is Sam Wasserman. Go ahead and unmute yourself now, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hi, my name's Sam Wasserman. I live in Los Feliz, and I've lived my whole life in Los Angeles. I'm second generation, and I love this city so much and appreciate the work you're doing to focus on communities of interest and not on political council members and what they want for their advantages. And so I think you're doing a great job. K2.5 I support, but there are a few suggestions that the Los Feliz and Silver Lake community really feel strongly about. We keep mentioning Griffith Park is always been a big part of Los Feliz. This whole area, all of our generations have put so much into that park and those areas that it should remain in there. Same thing with the parts of the Oaks that were taken away from CD13 in this new map. And there's a small sliver around Silver Lake that it looks like was only there for Councilwoman Rahman to stay in her own home in CD4. We would like to ask that all of that is in CD13. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, speaker. Our next speaker is Pastor William Smart. Pastor William Smart, go ahead and unmute yourself. You're our next speaker. We'd love to hear from you. You have up to a minute.
Thank you. I'm Pastor Smart from the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. I've spoken to you about 6 times now. The SCLC is a voting rights organization. It's a civil rights organization. It has participated in this process, and since 1992, it has been concerned about these issues. I would like to, Chairman Ali, I would like SCLC to be able to give a presentation before this commission. As you know, our emphasis in this process has been to make sure that any changes made does not dilute the Black voting strength in council districts historically held by African American council members. And so as you move forward with the 8th, the Mall in the 8th, the 9th with Live, USC and Exposition, and then the 10th, Lemert Park Village, they're the assets that need to be in place, are very valuable to this process so that we can have economic empowerment throughout South LA. So we, SCLC, wants to give a presentation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker, Nayan Kang. Go ahead and unmute yourself. And you'll also have up to a minute to give your comment.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Nayan Kang, and I'm a longtime member of the Koreatown community. I'm calling today to express my strong support of the draft map K2.5's Koreatown boundary, where our community is unified under CD10. The draft map respects the community input presented by the Koreatown Redistricting Task Force while observing the neighborhood council boundaries. Please ensure that Koreatown community is kept whole and no longer divided into multiple council districts. Thank you very much for all your hard work.
Thank you for your comments. I'm going to now announce the next group of speakers. The next group of speakers include the following names: Catherine Tattersfield, Helen Eigenberg, and Gina Viola. Go ahead, Catherine Tattersfield, you're our next speaker. You should be able to unmute yourself and you'll have up to a minute.
Hi, good morning. As a West Valley native, I think the proposed K2.5 maps for CD3 and 402 did not reflect actual communities of interest, but the interests of rich property owners and establishment incumbents. I grew up in CD3. I still visit the area frequently because I live in CD12, and I'm disgusted by the way the proposed boundaries would consolidate economic assets, including 2 community colleges, major retail centers, and the future stadium in Warner Center out of Canoga Park and Reseda into a 70% white wealthy district. Privilege would be the main connection between the residents of the proposed CD3 at the expense of people of color and tenants in neighboring communities like Canoga Park and Reseda. I urge you to reject these maps because they would only exacerbate inequality in our city. Our district should reflect the diversity and inclusion within our communities and help give everyone in the valley equal access to city resources. Our futures depend on the strength of our communities. Please keep them united. Keep Woodland Hills, Canoga Park, Reseda, Tarzana in the same CD3. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Our next speaker, Helen Eigenberg. Go ahead and unmute yourself and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment.
Hi, I'm a resident in the greater Wilshire area, and I support the map plan K2.5. This map includes all of the greater Wilshire Neighborhood Council and communities of interest to the west together in CD5. I want to thank the commission for their transparency and for what seems like a real effort to hear from every community in our amazing city. I cede my time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Gina Viola. Gina Viola can go ahead and unmute themselves now, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your statement.
In the publicly available document with written testimony, literally 2/3 of all comments are about how fucked up this process is to Councilmember Rahman. The anti-Black colonial violent history of Los Angeles cannot be denied. It's long past time we decide white supremacy does not lead our redistricting process. I'm a homeowner in CD4 who proudly voted for Nithya, and my neighbors did the same. Being punished for wanting change is white supremacy. Nithya was not a one-off or the end of that change. Rather, it is the beginning of what is to come. You have made it abundantly clear that the city of LA cannot appoint commissions with any sort of integrity. I regret that I didn't pay more attention when you were fucking with our districts in South and downtown LA, but I'm here now with a whole ass movement of people committed to exposing the racism and corruption. Those of you carrying water for white supremacy should resign immediately. Those of you who don't believe you are carrying that water need to call out those who are, then resign, demand an independent process. Start over. This ain't it.
All right, thank you for your comments. Our next group of speakers include the following names: Dan Nealon, Francisco Rivera, and Heath Klein. So our next speaker, Dan Nealon, you should be able to unmute yourself now. We'd love to hear from you, and you'll have up to 1 minute.
Hi, I'm a Los Feliz resident, and I just want to note that K2 2.5 does not keep Los Feliz whole, does not respect neighborhood council boundaries. I also urge you to keep Thai Town whole, as members of that community have expressed that. I'd also like to echo the comments of the previous caller with regards to CD4. This map completely erases the votes of the thousands of diverse low and middle income voters that voted for the first time last year for a council person, overwhelmingly selecting that council person. And this erases those votes. We in Los Feliz have just begun to start forming relationships with the new CD4 office, beginning on working on projects. All that work will be erased if this map is implemented. Please respect the electoral process and redesign CD4 so that it includes the neighborhoods that elected this council person. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Francisco Rivera, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment as well. Once again, our next speaker is Francisco Rivera. Go ahead and you should be able to unmute, and when you do, we'd love to hear from you. Okay, we're going to go down to the next person in our list and give them a chance to give their comment instead. Heath Klein. Heath Klein, you should be able to unmute now, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your statement.
Good morning, commissioners. Thank you for your tireless work, and of course to the staff as well. As chair of the Woodland Hills Warner Center Neighborhood Council's Issues and Policies Commission, I've been in receipt of dozens of stakeholder input and conversations, and everyone in the West Valley is rejecting map K2.5. There's now a coalition forming around stakeholder map number 57666. I understand you received an email from WHO today endorsing this map. Please take a look at it and the reasons stated. And I might add that this stakeholder map addresses the concerns we've heard today, and it takes care of the problems in the East Valley as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We want to give Francisco Rivera one more opportunity to give their comment. We're going to call on you one more time. Francisco Rivera, if you're there, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. There you are. You'll have up to 1 minute. Go ahead, Francisco. All right, we can see that you're unmuted, but we are not able to hear from you. So apologies. If we're going to go ahead and move on, and if you can fix your tech issues, we'll give you another chance later on, maybe. Let's go to the next group of speakers. They're going to include the following names: Kat Ramos, Linda Gomez Evans, and Sebastian Ramirez. So Kat Ramos, you're our next speaker. You should be able to unmute yourself right now, and you'll have up to 1 minute.
Hi, good morning, commissioners. My name is Kat Ramos. As a lifelong Highland Park resident, I want to express my opposition to moving my neighborhood of Highland Park to Council District 1 with Gil Cedillo. We as a community did not vote for Gil Cedillo. Highland Park has been part of Council District 14 for many years, and Kevin De Leon has served our community well, and as well as helping out our houseless neighbors. We want to stay in his district. Please keep my neighborhood of Highland Park in Council District 14. Thank you.
All right, our next speaker is going to be Linda Gomez Evans. So Linda Gomez Evans, you can go ahead and unmute yourself now, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment as well.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Linda Gomez Evans. I am a resident of CD8 and a proud member of Community Coalition. I specifically would like to talk about CD8, 9, and 10 today. It is critical for the commission to take a stand to bring back the assets lost 10 years ago and center equity, compassion, and morality in its decision-making, even when it is difficult or unpopular to do so. We believe that Black people should be full and valued participants in the city, and a vital way to move towards that is by having assets in CD8 that for a long time we did not have. We lost them 10 years ago, and to center equity and compassion and morality in its decision-making. CD8 has been underdeveloped and underserved, and now is the time to redirect this trajectory. Please take in mind the people's block max and use that in consideration when drawing the lines. Thank you, commissioners, for today. Appreciate having all of you here.
All right, we appreciate your comments. Our next speaker, Sebastian Ramirez, followed by caller ending in 252 and John Wellborn. So Sebastian Ramirez, you're our next speaker. Go ahead and unmute yourself and you'll have up to a minute to give your comment. Once again, our next speaker, Sebastian Ramirez, you can unmute yourself. Okay, we're gonna move on in the line and we're gonna give our next speaker an opportunity to give their comment. They are caller ending in phone number 252. If you're a caller ending in 252, please press *6 now to unmute yourself, and then you'll be able to give your comment for up to 1 minute. So once again, our next speaker should be a phone caller ending in phone number 252. Please press *6 now. All right, we're gonna keep moving down the list. Hopefully we'll be able to hear from these folks later on. Let's ask John Wilborn to unmute themselves. John Wellborn, you're our next speaker, and you'll have up to a minute to give your comment.
Morning, commissioners. Some might say that you have a thankless task. Oftentimes that seems the case with public service, especially volunteer public service. But I'm here to say today that I disagree. It is not a thankless task. The fact that you have had 400 or more people listening to some of your approximately 20 or so very public meetings and hearings shows that people care about the communities where they live. Redistricting is first and foremost about geography. It relates to where people live, walk, bicycle, shop, go to church, go to synagogue, go to mosque, go to school, visit with neighbors, and work on issues of common concern. So I think you are doing a good job. Today, I give testimony to emphasize that yours is not a thankless task. On behalf of my Windsor Square neighborhood and my wider Greater Wilshire neighborhood and our similar communities of interest from Western to Westwood, I say thank you.
All right, thank you for your comment, speaker. We are going to call on a couple folks that we just tried to hear from previously. We're going to ask Sebastian Ramirez to go ahead and unmute themselves. Sebastian Ramirez, if you can unmute yourself, we'd love to hear from you. You'll have a 2 minutes to give your comment.
Yes, hello. My name is Sebastian. I live in Highland Park and I've been a resident. We support K2.5 with the following corrections. I would like our portion of Highland Park to be included in CD14, and I ask the commission to return our portion of Highland Park to CD14. Moves line back out of Chinatown and ensure York Boulevard business corridor is back in CD14. This also allows us to continue with the CD14 and improving our neighborhoods as we have for decades now. And I just just come together. We're all good. And yeah, thank you.
It's okay. Thank you very much, speaker. Great to hear from you this morning. Our next group of speakers are going to include some phone callers. So listen up for your phone number. If your phone number is ending in the number 543, if you're caller ending in 543 or caller ending in 252, get ready to press *6 to unmute yourself. So if you're a caller ending in 543, you can unmute yourself now and you'll have up to a minute to give your comment.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Lionel Mares from CD6. I'm calling because regarding my neighborhood, Sun Valley. I've noticed that the K2.5 map shows that Sun Valley will be split into 3 different districts, beginning with District 7, 6, and District 204, whereas the current configuration, it is split into 2 different districts, District 6 and 2. And I'm a little bit worried that what impact it might have on my community in the East San Fernando Valley, because I feel like I'm the only one from the East Side who's speaking up for my neighborhood and community. And I'm trying to do my best to keep our neighborhood intact. And because I want to represent my neighborhood who are predominantly Latino, Spanish speaking, working class people. And we need equal and political representation. And I ask that Rachel Torres represent us, please. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We're going to try to hear from another phone caller. Our next speaker should be a caller ending in phone number 252. We tried to call you a little bit earlier, so if you're a caller ending in 252, you should press *6 right now, and then we'd all be able to hear from you. So once again, a phone caller ending in 252, you should be our next speaker. If we can't hear from you now, we're going to go ahead and move on with our next list. Once again, 252, press *6. There you are.
Buenos días, ¿me escuchan?
Sí, loud and clear.
Muy buenos
Loud and
días,
clear.
mi nombre es Rebeca. Muchas gracias por su tiempo, que es muy valioso para nosotros, y sé que estos comentarios no van a ser ignorados. Me gustaría que nuestra porción de Highland Park se incluyera en el Distrito 14. Votamos no por Gil Cedillo y pertenecemos al Distrito 14. Le pedimos, por favor, a la comisión que devuelva nuestra parte de Highland Park al Distrito 14. Muy buenas tardes por su tiempo.
Thank you very much. Our next group of speakers include the following names. They are Cynthia Achvatal and Siaka and Blair Beston. So Cynthia Vatal, go ahead and unmute yourself. You're our next speaker, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment.
Hi, good morning, commissioners. It's actually Cynthia Shavato, but you got really close. It's
Try. Go ahead. I'll start you over. Go ahead.
I am a 25-year resident of Hancock Park and president of the Hancock Park Homeowners Association. And I'm here this morning on behalf of the 1,200 homes in Hancock Park in support of MAP K 2.5. This map places Hancock Park and the Greater Wilshire Neighborhood Council and our communities of interest all together in CD5, where we belong. And we will continue to advocate for that result to be in the final map coming out of this commission and going to City Council. We thank the Redistricting Commission for standing on principle and standing by the community, for creating a map using census data, population, voting rights protections, communities of interest, neighborhood council boundaries, and most importantly, the voices of the people over sole political interest of a sitting council member, for being ethical and listening to our neighborhood voices, particularly our communities of interest. Please note that and understand that due to Sabbath observance, many Orthodox Jews who live in Hancock Park and are in favor could not be on the call this morning. Please don't take their absence as a
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Speaker. Your time is up. Our next speaker is Seaka, or S-E-A-C-A. You're our next speaker. You can go ahead and unmute yourself now, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment. Once again, there you are.
Hi, I'm a community organizer for a nonprofit serving Chinatown. My map K 2.5 splits Chinatown in half across 2 districts. The boundaries to CD1, where most of Chinatown is currently located, cuts off at Hill and Ord. Please expand this boundary to keep Chinatown whole in CD1. The map isolates one of the largest senior housing apartments in Chinatown, as well as several markets and businesses with community report, and dozens of people living in single room occupancy units into CD14. Many of these tenants are low income, elderly, disabled immigrants of color. Like much of Chinatown, these tenants have been resisting against countless incidents of landlord abuse and gentrification that's forced many of my neighbors out from the community that they've come to know best. For residents to better advocate for their needs, Chinatown must be kept whole and in one district. Please expand the area's boundaries to what CD1 have had for the past decade. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. Our next group of speakers include the following names: Blair Beston, An Lay, and Ian Taylor. So Blair Beston, go ahead and unmute yourself now. And when you do, you'll have up to 1 minute to give your statement.
Thank you so much, commissioners. I called into the first hearing and I've written in. My name is Blair Beston. I'm with the Historic Core Business Improvement District. Today I'm calling in as a stakeholder again. I know you have many issues to consider. However, for all the reasons that I've previously stated, my main consideration just continues to be keeping an area like downtown together. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker, An Lay. An Lay, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your statement as well.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Ann Lay, and I'm calling on behalf of the Little Tokyo Service Center. LTSC is a member of APCON and the People's Bloc. We believe that Little Tokyo and Chinatown are shared communities of interest. Our respective communities have high density and the residents are predominantly renters, many of whom are low income and limited English proficient and are facing increased costs of living as a result of gentrification. We want Chinatown to be in the same district with us in CD14 and to keep our respective communities whole. Map K 2.5 divides Chinatown that not only excludes the gateway arches of Chinatown, but also Cafe Manor, where senior, low-income, limited English proficient Asian immigrants reside and make up the neediest of the Chinatown community. We do appreciate that Map K 2.5 keeps Little Tokyo in CD14 with downtown LA and also with Union Station, as we share interests with regards to housing, jobs, community, and transportation infrastructure needs. Being in the same district will enable us to prioritize and align neighborhood priorities. Thank you very much.
All right, our next speaker is Ian Taylor. Ian Taylor, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll have up to a minute to give your comment as well.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ian Taylor. I'm with the Community Coalition, and I work in South LA. So specifically, I would like to talk about CD8, 9, and 10 this morning. I've worked in vaccination efforts with our civic engagement department at Community Coalition in the past couple months, and directly seen the impact of disinvestment for the past couple years and decades even in South LA. And South LA has been impacted by decades of this disinvestment and racist policies for all the time being. And we do not want to see what happened 10 years ago repeat itself with CD8 and CD9, how it was cut off from assets, key assets. And I would like to see real racial justice and equity in order to keep Lincoln Heights with the rest of East LA communities of El Sereno and Boyle Heights that are located in CD14. When Lincoln Heights is kept together like it is in the People's Block map, it will raise the Latinx CVAC to 55.73% as opposed to 53.70% from the city. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your comments. Before we announce our next group of speakers, we want to give Ariana from the staff an opportunity to share our screen. And this is your way to come online and give us feedback on our maps. You can go and do this directly on our website, or you can go to this link right here and also give your feedback this way as well. So we're going to leave that up for a second. All right. So now we're going to announce the next group of names that will include the following people: Kathy Shakir, Lisa De Rubertis, and Karen from Chirla. So Kathy Shakir, go ahead and unmute yourself. You have up to a minute to give your comment.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. My name is Kathy Shakir. I'm with the Community Coalition. I'm a 44-year resident of South LA who's worked and lived here and raised my family. I'd like to talk about CD 8, 9, and 10 today. South LA has been impacted by decades of disinvestment and racist policies. We do not want to see what happened 10 years ago repeat itself when CD 8 and CD 9 were cut off from assets. I'd like to see real racial justice and equity. In this period of recovery, we want all of the assets back in the 8th and the 9th districts that were lost in the last redistricting. University of Southern California, California African American Museum, and Exposition Park back in the 8th, and the assets in downtown back in the 9th. We urge the commission to ensure that the preservation of Black voter strength in the 10th and keep historic Lemert Park whole in CD 10. Thank you for all your time.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker, Lisa De Rubertis, go ahead and unmute yourself. And you can also have up to a minute to give your statement.
Hi, my name is Lisa De Robertis. I'm a public educator and I've lived in Woodland Hills and Canoga Park for over 50 years. I wanted to comment on breaking up CD3 into 2 different districts, either CD2 or CD4. What that is doing is basically creating an overwhelmingly white and wealthy district and another overwhelmingly Black and brown district without any cultural landmarks or community assets. Also, voters shifted from CD3 to CD2 or CD4 will have been unable to vote in a city council election for 7 years, which obviously creates a lot of disenfranchisement. Latinx voters are particularly disrespected in this new map, and I emphatically urge you to oppose the breaking up of CD3 into two different maps. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Karen. Karen, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll have a 2 minute to give your statement as well.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Karen Diaz, and I'm the Electoral Field Manager for the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights. Chairless mission is a mission of achieving a just society fully inclusive of immigrants. In addition, we're a member of the People's Bloc. We are grateful for all the work the Commission and the Commission staff have done so far to create great opportunities for engagement. Today, we are calling to uplift the San Fernando Valley map labeled as 2 or 4, which includes Canoga, Winnetka, Reseda, and Lake Balboa in map 2.5. By keeping those communities together, working immigrant will be able to advocate for housing accessibility, which has been further exacerbated by the pandemic and the need for accessible, affordable housing. And we need solutions to address the rate of which homelessness population has grown. Additionally, we're suggesting modifications which include keeping Chinatown and Little Tokyo whole together. Chinatown is one of the oldest immigrant communities and is home to immigrant, elderly, and working class people of color. For residents in second chance and advocating communities of need, better resources for Chinatown must remain whole and together in one council district. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you, Speaker. I'm going to announce the next group of speakers. They are going to include a phone caller ending in phone number 316. Once again, phone caller ending in 316 and phone caller ending in 809. Phone caller ending in 809 or 316. Go ahead and be prepared to press *6 to unmute yourselves, and we'd love to hear from you. So our next speaker is caller ending in phone number 316. Go ahead and press *6 now, and we should be able to hear you loud and clear.
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hi, I'm a resident of Highland Park, and I support map K2.5 with the following corrections. I would like for our portion of Highland Park to be included in CD14. I'm asking the Commission to return our portion of Highland Park to CD14 and leave it unchanged. And hopefully we can move our lines back out of Chinatown and ensure the York Boulevard businesses are safe and sound in CD14. I think this will allow us to, continue the hard work we've been doing here in CD14 and improving our neighborhoods and keeping as much of the culture as we can. Thank you.
All right, appreciate your comments. Our next speaker is a caller ending in phone number 809. Caller ending in 809. Please press *6 and we can hear you. You'll have up to a minute. We can hear you. Go ahead. Hello?
Hello?
There you are. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Ricardo Villaseñor. I'm calling to strongly oppose the map of K2.5 and L and urge the Commission to review the map 57666. This is regarding Canoga Park. You guys end up going with that, you're going to split up Canoga Park, one of the nicest cities, once voted All-American. So I strongly disagree with the K2.5 and L. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next group of speakers include the following names: Cliff Lord, Jennifer Grijalva, and caller ending in 030. So Cliff Lord, Jennifer Grijalva, and caller ending in 030. Please prepare your comments. Cliff Lord, you should be able to unmute yourself now, and you'll have up to a minute to give your statement.
Yes, hi, my name is Cliff Lord. I live in Hancock Park, and I just wanted to say it's so inspiring to listen to all these people calling from across the city. And this exercise in direct democracy is really inspiring, I think, for everybody in this city, regardless of if we don't all get what we want out of this map. Pursuant to that, I'm concerned about the efforts to turn this political from my council member, Nithya Raman. It seems to me a little precious, her pearl clutching regarding map K25, which I sincerely support, because when Ms. Raman ran for council member, she didn't run as Nithya for CD4, she ran as Nithya for the city, So it seems to me that, in fact, that's her social media handle to this day. And it seems to me that anyone with such an expansive vision of her office would be okay with any formulation of their district. If it's renters she wants to appeal to, there are plenty of those in the map, the current map proposal.
Thank
If
you,
it's
Speaker.
homelessness she wants.
Your time is up. Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Jennifer Grijalva. Grijalva, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll have up to a minute to give your comment as well.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Grijalva. I am a member of Community Coalition. I have grown up in South LA and live in District 9. I'm also a mental health therapist that has worked with many South LA youth. Today, I want to talk about CD8 and CD9. South LA residents need important assets that were taken away, specifically parts of downtown from CD9 and Exposition Park and USC from CD8. As a mental health therapist, I have gotten to work with kids who have shared with me their stories of survival. And honestly, they deserve better. They deserve and need these assets. For South LA residents, these assets will not just improve our quality of life. It is essential to our survival. The immense poverty that exists in South LA has created so much trauma and loss, and the pandemic only intensified it. The divestment created increased homelessness, food insecurity, lack of mental health resources. If we return these assets to the community, we can help mitigate these issues. I hope that you all are able to bring back these assets that South LA residents need. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Our next speaker is caller ending in phone number 030. So if you're calling in and ending in your phone number ends in 030, please press *6 now. And as soon as you do, we'll all be able to hear from you, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment. Once again, our next speaker is calling in over the phone, ending in 030. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on and see if we can speak to this person a little later on. Let's announce the next group of speakers. The names are Pun Pavan, Jeanette Bronson, and Oscar Canales. So Pun Pavan, go ahead and mute yourself, and you can have up to 1 minute to give your comment as well.
I need to make a public comment.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello? Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Sorry, I just got on. Okay, you can hear me loud and clear. Okay, so my name is Pun Harabat. I represent the Thai community and like to suggest adjustments to map K2.5 to exclude Los Feliz from the Council District 13. Because Los Feliz is not a commercial district and comprises mostly affluent homeowners whose interests are very different from the majority of the immigrant constituents and stakeholders in the district, such as those in Thai Town, historic Filipino town, Little Armenia, and other ethnic enclaves who are, on the contrary, mostly renters, low-income workers, and small mom and pop store owners. The addition of Los Feliz would mean the gentrification of these areas. So please keep Los Feliz in Council District 4, please. Thank you. And include Koreatown.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jeanette Bronson. Jeanette Bronson, you can go ahead and unmute yourself now, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your statement.
Good morning. I have to say I've learned so much in these past 2 meetings, and I do appreciate everything that the commission has done. I'm not going to pretend to know whether it's a good or bad job because it's my first time paying attention to it. And I will be paying attention in the future. I'll be brief. I live in Ladera, the little finger-shaped area that connects Los Angeles to LAX. We only have about 200 homes, and it's easy to to move us back and forth from district to district as we've done recently or in the last few maps. But we are more connected to our people in CD11. Plus, to us, it's an issue of public safety. We're going to be moved to another police station, another fire station that is further away and harder to get to. And I mean, we're such a small section that it is easy to overlook us, but it is for us an issue of public safety.
Thank you very much for your comments. We'd like to give another opportunity. We had a caller ending in phone number 030. We'd still like to give you a chance to give your comment. You you can press *6 at this point, and that way you can be unmuted and then we can hear from you. So once again, we want to hear a caller ending in phone number 030. And just want to give you an extra minute to, in case you need to press *6. Okay, well, we'll try to give you another chance. Oh, there you are. Good morning.
Oh, hi. Yes, thank you so much for the extra opportunity. I appreciate it. Hello, my name is Jasmine, and I am a constituent of CD3 in Econogo Park. I oppose map K 2.5 and L. I strongly support stakeholders map 57666. A unified district of Canoga Park, Woodland Hills Warner Center, and Winnetka would provide some relatively economically disadvantaged areas more resources and skill sets that could advance their economic interests. I urge the Commission to please review stakeholders map 57666. Thank you to the Commission for what you do.
Thank you for your comments. Our next group of speakers include the following names: Oscar Canales, Don, and Kristen C. So Oscar Canales, you can unmute yourself now and you'll have up to a minute to give your statement.
Hi, my name is Oscar Canales. I am a community organizer with Resilient Agency. Thank you to the Commission for the space, and I appreciate to be able to advocate on behalf of the community that resides in the South Park community. I know that the Community Coalition has spoke about the block map recommendations, but it does not reflect the voices of community that have resides in CD9. I speak for CD9 that has largely been neglected, marginalized, and for so long has been shunned out of the process. Many people that reside in the district are generations of African American that have resided in South LA since the 1940s. And also, I am very fortunate to live in a diverse community that has many indigenous families that still practice their dialect and speak their native language, of many of whom don't understand English nor Spanish, and many Latinx youth. Because of my constituents and community members and stakeholders have said that live in CD9, we oppose the People's Block Map. If you heard many people on this call, even myself who lives there, please take into consideration the public testimony of the constituents and stakeholders that are on this call of this redistricting. Like Albert Einstein once said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Thank you, Commission.
All right. Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker, Don. Don, you should be able to unmute yourself now, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment as well.
I'll have to promote him as a panelist in order to speak. So Don, just give us 1 second, and we want to make sure that you're great. Your camera, we'll turn your camera off and we'll have you unmuted. If you can accept the unmute.
All right, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
All right. My name is Don Garza, and I am a resident of CD14. I am actually on the old boundary from 2010, CD9 and CD14 when we were split on Main Street between Skid Row and basically that's still considered to be Skid Row. They want to name the historic core, but my main concern is I want to stay in CD14 as a resident. I speak for myself. And I want to stay, I want downtown Los Angeles to stay together because downtown staying together is a downtown LA that is strong. And also it helps to make the communities around downtown LA strong. We vote together, we live together, we have fun together, and we spend our money in all of the surrounding communities, not just downtown, together. So keep CD14, keep downtown LA and CD14. Please, and as a whole.
All right, thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker is Kristen C. Kristen C, go ahead and unmute yourself and you'll have up to a minute to give your statement.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Christian Cardenas. I was born, raised, and live in Lincoln Heights. I'm here asking you to unite the East Side. Being grouped with more affluent areas has been very harmful to my community. We need a better representation and allies who face similar struggles to organize with. So please unify the East Side by combining Lincoln Heights with Boyle Heights and El Sereno. We are very clearly a community of interest as we are all communities with high immigrant populations, lower income levels, and have suffered from years of disinvestment. Despite these challenges, our communities have a history of being able to organize together to bring needed change to our communities. These current maps, excluding Lincoln Heights, would lead to even further displacement. Students I work with at Lincoln, my alma mater, have already been affected by unchecked development by being pushed out of their homes in Lincoln Heights. We need to be a strong district with our neighbors in El Sereno and Bow Heights to protect and fight for those who can't be here today. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next group of speakers include the following names: Kathleen Becker, Edward Barsumian, and Woodland Hills, and John Grisham. So Kathleen Becker, you are our next speaker. You can unmute yourself now, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your testimony. Once again, our next speaker is Kathleen Becker. You can go ahead and unmute now, I believe, yeah, you can unmute and you'll have up to 1 minute. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on down.
Okay, I'm here.
There
I'm
you
sorry.
are, there you are.
Here I
I
am.
want to give you some time, you're good.
Okay. Hi, my name is Kathleen Becker. I'm a long-term resident of Wilshire Park. I'm also a past president. I've lived here for over 50 years. We are part of the Greater Wilshire Neighborhood Council, and I'm calling in support of the map K 2.5 for District 5. We'd like to keep our neighborhoods and Greater Neighborhood Council intact to align with all of our issues and everything that we've been working on for years since our Greater Wilshire Neighborhood Council was developed. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is Edward Barsumian. Edward Barsumian, you can unmute now, and we'd love to hear from you, and you have up to 1 minute to give your comment.
Hi, just checking you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Awesome. So again, my name is Edward Barsumian, and I'm reaching out on behalf of the Armenian National Committee of America Western Region and request that our Armenian community in San Fernando Valley be kept intact. We're extremely alarmed by the manner in which Map K 2.5 separates a strong community into 3 weaker districts. And after the Armenian genocide, many Armenians found a home in Los Angeles where they made important contributions to the prosperity and success of the communities that welcomed us. Fragmenting our communities effectively undermines the political representation and voice of Armenian American constituents. It will also have a negative impact on the provision of vital social services like immigration, food, housing assistance, as well as language accessibility. So including Armenian American community organizations is imperative in this process. And so for these reasons, we have to demand that the Commission reunite us in one strong Valley district. So the LACCRC also has identified us as a community of interest and even released—
Your time is up, sir.
Okay, so keep our districts all together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is identified as Woodland Hills. Woodland Hills, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment as well.
Hi, thank you. My name is Maria. Sorry, I filled it out wrong. Anyway, as it said, I'm a resident of Woodland Hills. I've been going back and forth because, I'm quite a little confused as to the pros and cons of this. However, what I wanted to say is for District 3 as proposed in 2.5, I would highly recommend that you eliminate Valley Village as they have nothing in common with those that you seem to be clumping together that have the Santa Monica Mountains involved, which of course, that in itself is a resource and fire risk that they have in common. I would ask that you exclude Valley Village, that you consider including West Hills, which shares resources, including the Topanga LAPD division with Woodland Hills. And when we are evacuated for fire reasons, we share resources. So Valley Village could go to the Blue 4 and 12 could pick up Canoga Park, but I ask that you re-implement Woodland Hills and West Hills together. And also, please stop referring to District 3 as overprivileged white, because that's misrepresenting the major minorities.
Our next speakers are going to include the following names: John G., Karen, and Eileen Bell. So John G., go ahead and unmute yourself now, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment as well.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is John Gresham. As you know, I'm a 30-year resident of Wilshire Park, which is located in Greater Wilshire. It's of vital importance to me, my family, and to my neighborhood that our city council member be responsive to us and to life in our historic neighborhoods. Our city council member must also understand and be responsible to our special diversity, including the needs of our Orthodox Jewish neighbors. And today being Sabbath, please hear our voices on their behalf. I want to thank the Commission for hearing us and carefully crafting draft plan K 2.5 through this public and democratic redistricting process. Specifically, it's District 5, which keeps Greater Wilshire together
with our like-minded community of interest neighbors to the west. I remain concerned, however, by insinuations and rumors I hear that our attempts are afoot to try and upend the commission's good work and pressure you to radically change the final map. I urge you to dismiss these political, partisan, and non-public efforts. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is Karen. Karen, you should be able to unmute yourself now. And when you do, you'll have up to a minute to give your comment, and we'd love to hear from you. So Karen, go ahead.
Good morning, Commission. My name is Karen. I'm with the Community Coalition. I'm a resident of Jefferson Park for the last 30 years. In this period of recovery, we want all assets back in 8th and 9th district that we lost in last redistricting. The University of Southern California, California African American Museum, and Exposition Park in the 8th, and assets in downtown back into the 9th. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Eileen Bell.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good morning. All right. Eileen Bell, followed by Garrett Lindsay, Tom Benko, and Susan Wong. So Eileen Bell, we can hear you. You have up to a minute.
Good morning, Commissioners. I appreciate to be able to speak this morning. My name is Eileen Bell. I live in Council District 4. I'm disturbed by the redistricting plan K2.5. It's been very difficult for me to watch my council district be annihilated. I understand the redistricting process inevitably brings change, but this proposed map seems to disproportionately affect only a couple of people on council, Nithya Raman being one of them. It is clear to me that Nithya is targeted because she's new on the council and does not yet have a strong power position on the council, and because she is progressive. That should not give the commission license to disenfranchise so many voters. At best, 73% of her district would be disenfranchised. That is just wrong. At a time when so many people's faith in the political process is being shaken, it is horrifying to see this kind of blatant political maneuvering. It damages faith in the political process. Our democracy relies on being sure that
Speaker, your time is up. Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Garrett Lindsay. Garrett Lindsay, you should be able to unmute yourself right now, and you'll have up to a minute to give your statement.
Good morning, Garrett Lindsay, concerned San Fernando Valley resident. The majority of current Council District 3's population is in what was previously called District N. CD3's office is in that District N. Under normal district redistricting considerations, District N would have been District 3. The chair's decision to move the working class, predominantly Latino portions of current Council District 3 into an even numbered district is, from what I can tell, arbitrary and unsupported by any factual findings. This commission will decide the makeup for 5 staggered elections, 3 for odd districts and 2 for even districts. Arbitrarily moving most of District 3 into an even district effectively deprives those communities of 1/3 of their voting power over the next 10 years. This has been done, apparently, in a way that bolsters the voting power of wealthier, whiter communities like Sherman Oaks, where they voted last year and they will now vote for 3 more times before redistricting. Here, where proposed vote deprivation can have negative impact on a protected class of voters, this commission should adopt objective principles for assigning district numbers to protect equal access to the ballot. As Paul Mitchell noted, the city of Long Beach uses an objective numbering process, and this commission should consider adopting that process.
Thank you, Speaker. Your time is up. Our next speaker is, all right, Tom Benko. Our next speaker is Tom Benko. You should be able to unmute yourself now. We'd love to hear from you. You'll have up to 1 minute to give your statement.
My name is Tom Benko. I'm a long-term resident of Melrose and Fairfax area, and I'd like to bring the attention to the map west of La Brea and north of Melrose is squeezed between West Hollywood and no one. I would ask that the commission look at it and include Melrose north to the boundary of West Hollywood and east to La Brea. We consider ourselves as the Melrose Art District or Melrose Business District. And if you drive down on Melrose, you can see from La Brea going west, it's the most busiest, and that's the part I live in. And I would like to commission to consider moving the map just a little bit north, so we're not a peninsula of CD13. We like to be part of CD5. Thank you for your time, and I yield the time back.
Thank you very much for your comment. Our next speaker is Susan Wong. Susan Wong, you should be able to unmute yourself now, and you'll also have up to a minute to give your statement.
Hello, good morning. I live in Shadow Hills and I have studied the K25 map and am quite concerned that the map has broken my community apart and placed it into 3 different city council districts, even though a stated goal of the commission was to keep the neighborhoods together. It has also been ripped away from other equestrian and high fire neighborhoods in our current district, communities that we work with to help solve our similar problems. Shadow Hills should stay in CD7. Please consider the following. Shadow Hills is a neighborhood with distinct physical, geographic, and topographic boundaries and should be kept together and in one district, CD7. These boundaries are the 210 freeway on the east, the Verdugo Mountains on the south, the Big Tahunga Wash, Hanson Dam on the north and northwest, and landfills along Glen Oaks and Sheldon on the west. The current map irrationally cuts off several streets along McBroom Street and Stonehurst area of Shadow Hills from the rest of Shadow Hills. All these severed streets dead end onto the landfills or the Big Tahunga Wash, and these streets are continuous only with the Shadow Hills neighborhood.
Thank you,
Please
Speaker. Your time is up. Go ahead and wrap up.
back into CD7. Thank you.
Thank you very
Rob,
much for your,
Rob,
yes.
Rob, this is Fred. So I want to take a break at 12 o'clock. I want to take a 10-minute break at 12 o'clock. So I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Chair. We also wanted to remind folks right now that if you are attending today's meeting and you have not yet had a chance to give your comments, you can press the raise hand function and join the speakers list. If you're attending today over the phone, you can press *9 and your hand will go up and we'll add you to the list. And then once again, we know that not everyone is here today. So if you have friends, neighbors, folks that you want to share this information around redistricting to, or give us their feedback on the maps, we're going to leave this up on the screen to give you a chance to copy it. It's bit.ly/map feedback LA. Once again, bit.ly/map feedback LA. And once again, we hope that gives everyone an opportunity. Go ahead, Chair.
Rob, if you've not announced the next 3 to 4 speakers, why don't we go ahead and take that break now?
Sure, we have not announced them. So we go ahead and take that 10-minute break now. We are at 11:50. We can come back at noon.
Thank you, Rob.
All right.
Okay, Rob, I'm ready to come back.
All right. So let's go ahead and continue on with public comment. I'm now going to announce the next group of speakers. They are going to include the following names: King, followed by Tom Bellino, Sam Uretsky, and caller ending in phone number 828. So if you're calling in and you're on 828, please get ready. So we're going to start now with King. King is our next speaker, and when you unmute yourself, we'd love to hear from you. You have up to 1 minute to give your comment. So once again, our next speaker is King. All right, well, maybe they're not at their phone right now, so we're gonna go ahead and go down to the next speaker on our list, Tom Bellino. Tom Bellino, you are our next speaker. You should be able to unmute yourself now. And when you do, you have up to 1 minute to give your comment.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hello, my name is Tom Bellino. I'm a board member of the MacArthur Park Neighborhood Council. Once again, I'd like to say that MacArthur Park should not be in CD1. Makes absolutely no sense, and not a single person has voiced support for it. I've read the transcripts from the previous meetings. I also want to voice my opposition to map K2.5. It prioritizes wealthy neighborhoods on the west side at the expense of the working class neighborhoods of Central and East LA. Your first red flag should be that people in Hancock Park are so adamant about supporting it. This is a community that donates heavily to politicians and will be listened to no matter which district they are in. I'm tired of the Hancock Parks of the city stamping out the voices of the vast majority of Angelenos who are working class renters. Additionally, I want to voice disappointment that Commissioner Polanco, who is supposedly there to represent my community, used his knowledge of confusing processes as a state senator to derail the vote on map L at the last meeting. This is supposed to be an easily accessible independent commission. Those kinds of tactics are revolting to me and have no place in the process. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker, Sam Uretsky. We want to give Sam Uretsky an opportunity to give their public comment. You can unmute yourself now. When you do, you'll have up to 1 minute to give your statement. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Hi, my name is Sam Uretsky. I'm a 22-year resident of Greater Wilshire living in Larchmont. Plan K2.5 has broad and deep support across the city. Greater Wilshire is united behind K2.5 with us in District 5. There has been little or no dissent from actual Greater Wilshire constituents. Just before this hearing, I listened to a webinar by political action interests supporting Nithya Raman, whose goal is to spread disinformation and scripted false narratives to derail all the good work the commission has done. Their goal is to protect Councilmember Raman at the expense of her undisturbed constituents in current CD4. From day one, I've watched in admiration as the commission has deflected political pressure and stuck by following the census data, voting rights protections, communities of interest, neighborhood council boundaries, and the actual voices of people in its determinations. Thank you for this approach. As you reach your finish line, please do not be swayed by partisan political outcry.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker is caller ending in phone number 828. So if you're calling in and your phone number ends in 828, please press *6. That would be the only way we can hear from you. There you are. You have up to 1 minute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hi, my name is Jeremiah, and I'm a resident here in Highland Park. Highland Park has been part of CD14 for many years, and we recently elected our councilman, Kevin De Leon. We are very happy with him and his staff. He has addressed the problems of homelessness, and we want to stay in his district. We did not vote for Gil Cedillo. So with that, I also want to say that we support map K25 with the following corrections. I would like our portion of Highland Park to be included in CD14. So I please ask the commission to return our portion of Highland Park to CD14, since you have refused to acknowledge that we want all of Highland Park in one district, in 14. So please move our lines back out of Chinatown and ensure York Boulevard Business Corridor is back in CD14. And this allows us to continue to work with CD14, improving our neighborhoods as we have done for decades now. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We are going to give a previous speaker an opportunity. We couldn't hear from them before, but King or caller, speaker who's identified as King. We'd like to hear from you. Please unmute yourself. And when you do, there you are. You have up to a minute.
Thank you. Hi, my name is King Chung. I'm a member of Chinatown Committee for Equitable Development. I'm calling to urge that we keep Chinatown together, not divide into two council districts. Chinatown is a historical and cultural district around for a long time. And, Chinatown has art during this pandemic and also going through gentrification, which is affecting low-income residents. So dividing Chinatown up will weaken our strength to make us stronger. It seems like it's a violation of civil rights. Doesn't make sense for us to walk into the Dragon Gate entrance to Chinatown and then it become another council district. So it doesn't really make sense at all. So I urge that we keep Chinatown together, be part of one council district. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Our next group of speakers include the following names: Alexandra Malek, Glenn Bailey, and caller ending in phone number 499. So Alexandra Malek, Glenn Bailey, and caller ending in 499. You're our next speakers. Alexandra Malek, you're our next speaker. You have up to a minute.
Yes, thank you. I am a fifth generation Southern Californian and a current resident of Los Feliz. It took me this long to start paying attention to local politics because I thought only older homeowners were allowed to do so. It's very easy to hear the difference between that demographic and the younger, more diverse voices I'm glad to have heard before me on this call. We are learning how so many of people have been this disenfranchised for this long, and we don't like what we see and we want to change it. I, along with many others before me, strongly oppose this map, and I am horrified to find out how much power and money we give each of our city council members. This conversation should not be about shuffling power around to give homeowners more of a say in our local politics. We should be focusing on breaking up these city council districts so that our city council members aren't making more than our governor. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker, Glenn Bailey. Glenn Bailey is our next speaker. You'll have up to, once you unmute yourself, you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment. And we'd love to hear from you.
Good morning, Glenn Bailey, speaking as an individual. I wanted to just comment with regards to map K2.5, which in general I support. There's a couple of items that may be just simply mapping errors, actually one, and that is the inclusion of aqueduct west of the 405 between Nordhoff and Lassen. It's just that one block width is taken out of CD12. And again, having drawn maps, I understand how it's easy to, for that to happen. So that should be put back into CD12. Also, Northridge South Neighborhood Council includes a portion of Northridge that's between White Oak and Louise, going down to Satakoy. So that has been not included with the other portions of Northridge because you have Roscoe as the boundary line. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't do a shout out to Sepulveda Basin. That should be part of Encino. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker is a caller ending in 499. So caller ending in phone number 499, please press *6 to unmute yourself, and then we can hear you. There you are.
Hi, my name is Lisbeth Villasenor. I am a resident of the CD3 Canal Park. Thank you so much for this time of this matter. I'm calling to let the commission know that we strongly support stakeholders map 57666 and strongly oppose map K2.5 and L. I urge the commission to review the map 57666. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next group of speakers include the following names: Clara Solis, Felipe Escobar, Joseph Roth, and call-in user 3. So Clara Solis, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment.
Hi, lifelong resident of the East Side, current resident of Highland Park. I oppose map
K 2.5. Map K 2.5 unfairly divides Highland Park, relegating the CD 14 portion to just 25% of Highland Park. This dilutes this majority Latinx community's power and will mean that they will have little influence on their council member. We ask that you keep the current CD boundaries the way they are today. Keep our York businesses, tiny homes, and senior center in CD 14. Your website discriminates against Spanish speakers. The forms on your website are not in Spanish. The maps being used to select your language, that's confusing. I'm concerned that the inner city struggle map presented today might violate the Voting Rights Act, and where Latinos now have a chance at electing 2 Latino representatives from CD1 and CD14, they will now only be able to elect 1. I am further concerned that Latinos in...
Your time is up, speaker.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker, Felipe Escobar. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll also have up to a minute to give your statement.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Felipe Escobar, a resident of San Fernando Valley, also with Paco, I'm beautiful. I'm here to voice the communities such as North Hollywood and Sun Valley. There are the front lines of climate change, and according to Kyle Brown's screen, they have some of the worst air quality in the States. In this area, there's a low canopy and lack of green spaces, and there's also a very lack of basic infrastructure, such as sidewalks and storm drains. This is why, as it shows in map K 2.5, we need to consider and ensure that districts are protect people of color and increase funding for community so we can advance equity and justice by not merging them with other communities such as Felix. I fear that if this happens, my parents who still live in North Hollywood will not be represented the same way as other communities will be represented. So that's why I urge you to keep our communities together. Thank you for your time.
All right, appreciate your comments. Our next speaker, Joseph Roth. Joseph Roth, you're our next speaker. And when you unmute yourself, you'll have up to 1 minute to give your statement.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Roth, and I'm on the board of directors of the Westwood South of Santa Monica Boulevard Homeowners Association, which represents residents north of Pico, east of Sepulveda, south of Santa Monica Boulevard, and west of Beverly Glen. I want to voice our HOA support for map K2.5 as it keeps our HOA wholly within 1 council district, whereas another competing version split us into 3 council districts. We also are pleased to be grouped with historically connected neighborhoods like those in Westwood Village and on the north side of Santa Monica Boulevard, since we have similar positions and are similarly affected by governmental decisions and policies. Finally, we also appreciate that map K2.5 keeps the entire West Side Neighborhood Council within a single district as well. Thank you for your hard work and your development of map K2.5.
All right, appreciate your comments as well. Our next speaker is identified as call-in user _3. So call-in user 3, you can unmute yourself now, and you'll also have up to 1 minute to give your comment. Once again, our next speaker is call-in user _3. There you are.
North Hollywood Now, that's fine. Yeah, shut down whatever. I have my kids to go to the mail for Korea to shut love car, but I have to become sure not to get washed on it.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, speaker. Our next group of speakers include the following. We have Claudia Q, followed by Shelby. And then we're going to have a caller ending in phone number 990. So we're going to hear from Claudia, Shelby, and then a caller ending in 990. So Claudia Q, you can go ahead and unmute yourself right now. And when you do, you'll also have up to 1 minute to give your statement. One more time, our next speaker is Claudia Q. You can unmute yourself now. Okay. Well, we're going to continue on down the list and see if we can hear from caller ending in, I'm sorry, Shelby. Our next speaker, we're trying to hear from Shelby. If you can unmute yourself now, you're our next speaker, and you'll also have up to 1 minute to give your statement. Once again, our next speaker is Shelby. If you want to unmute yourself, you can give your comment. Okay, well, we're going to come back to some of these names. We're going to ask phone caller ending in phone number 990 to press *6 to unmute yourself. And then we'll be able to hear you, and you'll have up to a minute to give your statement.
Hi, am I in?
Yes.
Okay,
good.
oh, thank you so much. You're such a gentleman. Thank you for your patience.
You're
I'm in CD4. It's no surprise that single-family communities are trying to get into CD5. Nithya Raman has made it very clear what she plans on doing with single-family neighborhoods. She also refers to them as all wealthy. She's totally ignored that the state bill she supported, SB 10, was fought hard by our single-family communities of color, Hispanic, and working-class communities too. We tried to get her to reach out to them. She didn't. She saw YouTubes of the leaders speaking against the bill. CD5 led the city to recommendation of the state of the chief legislative analyst to oppose those bills, joining 500 plus other cities who opposed them. She and only one other council member supported SB 910, which, by the way, is unconstitutional and undemocratic, which gives city councils the power to override our voter initiatives, and our council member chorus supports the lawsuit against it. She should not be surprised that single-family communities who know they are not represented by her, but she intends to destroy and carve into them, as just like Senator Weiner in Sacramento, and calls them all wealthy when they are very diverse, and a lot of them are working class, and she does not have a clue. Thank you.
Speaker. Your time is up. Okay, we're going to hear from our next group of speakers. Several people are calling in, and we're going to hear from them over the phone. So we want to give them a little bit of extra time to get ready. So if your phone number ends in the following 3 digits, be prepared to make your comment by pressing *6. So we're going to hear from caller ending in phone number 874, caller ending in 874. We're also going to hear from a caller ending in 284, and a caller ending in 888. Caller ending in 888. So we're going to hear from caller ending in 874 first. We're going to give you the first opportunity to give your comment. And when you have a chance, please press *6 to unmute yourself. That'll be the only way that we can hear you. We know you've been waiting for a while, so we want to give you a chance to be heard. So if you're a phone caller and your number ends in 874, please press *6 now, and you'll be able to give comment. All right, we're going to try to come back to you then. We're going to go to the next person who's also on the phone, and your number ends in 284. So once again, our next speaker is a caller ending in phone number 284. And if you're calling in over the phone, you need to press *6 to unmute yourself, and then you can begin to give your comment. You'll have up to 1 minute. There you are.
Hello.
Good morning. Good
Hello.
afternoon.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yes. Hello. My name is Francisco Rivera, founder of the National Central American Roundtable, and as a proud advocate for the largest population of Latinos in the Council District 8 and 9, the Central American Roundtable and our constituents called for the Redistricting Commission to leave the district lines in Council District 8 and 9 as is, taking away CD9's few economic engines like LLI, USC, and Exposition Park would truly show the city's neglect for the already poorest district in the entire city, which is home to not the Latino and immigrant community, but also to our indigenous and African American brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is also over the phone, ending in phone number 888. So once again, if you're calling over the phone and we say your last 3 digits, you have to press *6 to unmute yourself. And that's the only way that we can hear you. So if you are calling in and your phone number ends in 888, you need to press *6 now. And when you do, we'll all be able to hear you. There you are.
Hello.
Good afternoon. We can hear you.
Hi. I'm calling in today from what is currently CD2. I suggest that the Studio City would be included in Council District 3, as it is very similar to communities like Sherman Oaks and Encino. However, if Studio City is not ultimately included in Council District 3, I would approve of the proposed district that Studio City is currently in, map K.25, if and only if it is represented by Nithya Raman. I support this district because it encompasses majority of Ms. Raman's current constituency. I hope my comment will be incorporated and addressed. Thank you very much for your hard work and for your willingness to listen. Thank you.
We appreciate your comments. Our next group of speakers we're going to announce include Shelby, Billy Green, and Jesse. So Shelby, we'd love to hear from you. You can unmute yourself now, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment. So once again, our next speaker is named Shelby. You can press unmute, and then we'd love to hear from you. All right, we're gonna move on down the list, and maybe we'll hear from Shelby later on. Billy J. Green is our next speaker. So Billy J. Green, please go ahead and unmute yourself. There you are. You'll have up to 1 minute as well.
Thank you. My name is Billy J. Green. I live in Harvard Heights, HPOZ, and West Adam Heights, Sugar Hill Neighborhood Association. We support map K2.5. We also ask that you make Council District 9 whole and Council District 8, whereas they are being disenfranchised, and over the years, they will not have any economic base. Thank you for listening to the people of Los Angeles, and we appreciate you keeping us in Council District 10, where we have been for over 50 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is Jesse. Jesse is our next speaker. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll also have up to 1 minute to give your statement. Once again, our next speaker is Jesse. There you are.
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Great. Good morning, everyone. I'm a resident of CD2, and I'm calling in today from there, or what is now CD2. First off, I would like to suggest that, similar to the other speakers, Studio City be included in Council District 3. However, if that's not possible, I would approve of this current map because at least it would include some of Councilmember Rahman's current constituencies. But it is concerning that only 29% of those who elected her would remain in her district, which is, again, very alarming. So, you know, if Ms. Rahman is somehow assigned to a council district in the Northwest San Fernando Valley, none of those Angelenos who voted for her would be represented by her. I'd just like to thank you all for the opportunity to comment. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your comment. Before we continue on the list, we wanted to give someone we called on earlier another chance to speak. Their name is Shelby. So Shelby, we'd love to hear from you. If you're there, you can go ahead and press unmute now, and then you'll have up to a minute to give your comment. So once again, we want to give you one more chance. Shelby. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and continue down the list. We have several folks to hear from. Our next two speakers are over the phone. So if you are calling in and your phone number ends in 713, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Once again, our next speaker is calling in over the phone and your phone number ends in 713. We'd love to hear from you. You have up to a minute.
Hi, this is Ruth. I am a roofless constituent of the Valley. I wanted to request that council districts 3 and 4 remain intact. I agree with the other person who said they wouldn't mind if like Sherman Oaks and Studio City were moved to Nisea Rahman's district. Because I'm homeless, I wanted to say one of the reasons why it's important that Nisea Rahman retain her constituents is because of all the work she's done getting trust of the homeless people there and working with them and trying to match them with housing. And that would all be lost if she lost those constituents. And I don't think anyone's considered that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in and for your comment. Our next speaker is also a caller, but their phone number ends in 714. So if you're calling in today and your phone number ends at 714, now's the time to press *6. And when you do, you'll be unmuted, and then you'll be allowed up to 1 minute to give your comment. So once again, our next speaker is calling in over the phone and your phone number ends in 714. And now we can see you're unmuted. We'd love to hear from you.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Miran Tumajian, As the West Coast Director of the Armenian Assembly of America, nationwide nonpartisan nonprofit advocacy organization, I request that the Commission keep the East San Fernando Valley communities of East Van Nuys, all of Valley Glen, and North Hollywood together in a single council district. The largest concentration of the Armenian population in the city of Los Angeles is in the neighborhoods of the East San Fernando Valley. The Armenian community strongly opposes the currently proposed maps. The Armenian neighborhoods of the East San Fernando Valley form a community of interest that must not be divided. In addition, we demand the creation of district maps which empower our community and show respect to Armenian Americans and our elected representatives. For Armenian Americans in Los Angeles, the East San Fernando Valley communities are woven together by shared social, cultural, and economic interests. Again, please keep the communities of East Van Nuys, all of Valley Glen, and North Hollywood together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next group of speakers are going to be the following names: Gerardo, followed by Greg Mazmanian, Marcel Richardson, and Jobli A. So our next speaker is Gerardo. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment.
Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias, commissioners. Mi nombre es Gerardo Barrientos y he vivido en Shadow Hills por aproximadamente 20 años. Shadow Hills es una hermosa ciudad rural en nuestro noreste de San Fernando Valle y desde la creación de los distritos electorales ha sido parte del Distrito 7 y debe permanecer en el Distrito 7. La razón, nuestra presente concejal entiende las necesidades e intereses que se requieren para proteger y preservar esta comunidad. Ella también entiende los intereses que tenemos en común con Lakeview Terrace, la Tuna Canyon y Silmar, con relación a tener caballos y vivir en una zona de alto riesgo de incendio. Nuestras comunidades deben estar juntas para ayudarnos unos a otros. Por favor, tomen en consideración mi petición y muchas gracias por su trabajo en el distrito. Gracias.
Thank you very much for your comment. Our next speaker is Greg Mazmanian. Greg Mazmanian, you can unmute yourself, and you'll also have up to 1 minute to give your comment.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Greg Mazmanian, and I'm an Armenian American resident of the San Fernando Valley. I wanted to call in and essentially echo and endorse the comments of the previous Armenian callers. Looking at the heat map that the commission has released of our community and comparing that to the map K 2.5 where our communities live, it's obvious that our communities would be fragmented, particularly in the Sunland Tujunga area and also between the districts 2 and 4. So I asked the commission to please reunite our communities and endorse the comments of the previous two callers. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Our next speaker is Marcel Richardson. Marcel Richardson, go ahead and unmute yourself now, and you'll also have up to a minute to give your statement.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Marcel Richardson. I'm with the Community Coalition. I'm a 24-year-old African-American male who resides within South Central. I'm also a native. I specifically would like to talk about CD 8, 9, and 10 today. I've lived in South LA my entire life. I've personally seen the constant changes and the disinvestments of Black and Brown communities within South Central. Allowing these districts to be cut up into numerous council districts will continue to lessen the power of our communities. As I stated before, South LA has been impacted by decades of disinvestment and racial policies. We do not want to see what happened 10 years ago repeat itself when CD 8 and CD 9 were cut off from assets. I would like to see racial justice and equity. So I ask that in this period of recovery, we want all assets back in 8th and 9th district that were lost in the last redistricting, which count as like University of Southern California, California African American Museum, and Expo Park back in the 8th, and assets in downtown back in the 9th. Thank you, and I appreciate you all for your time. Have a great day.
All right, thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Jobli A. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and you too will also have up to a minute to give your comment.
Hola, buenos días. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Jobli Arguejo y vivo en la ciudad de Highland Park. Insto a los comisionados a escucharnos y regresar nuestra área de Highland Park al distrito 14 del Consejo. Hemos sido parte del CD14 durante muchos años y queremos seguir formando parte de este distrito. Hemos sido atendidos extremadamente bien por la oficina del consejero Kevin de León y nos gustaría seguir en su distrito. No tenemos nada en común con el consejo del distrito 1 y no votamos por Jill Cedillo. Por favor, regrese Highland Park al distrito 14 del consejo. Elegimos a Kevin de León y queremos seguir representados por él. Y les pido que por favor tomen en cuenta nuestros comentarios y muchas gracias. Que tengan buen día.
Thank you very much for your comments. And we just want to thank everyone who's raised their hands and been a part of our meeting. We've been taking public comment for a couple hours now, but we promise we will get to you if we see your hand in the list. So you can press the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen, or you can press *9 if you're attending over the phone. Our next group of speakers include the following names: Cirre Rogers, Maynard, and caller ending in phone number 445. So our next speaker, Cirre Rogers, go ahead and unmute yourself. And when you do, you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment. Okay, I think that they have decided they've changed their mind. So our next speaker is going to be Maynard. Maynard, go ahead and unmute yourself. And when you do, you'll have up to 1 minute to give your statement. So once again, our next speaker is Maynard. You can unmute yourself now and you'll have up to 1 minute. Okay, I don't think they're ready right now. We're going to continue down in the list to Ian C. Ian C is our next speaker. We want to give you a chance to give your comment. We'd love to hear from you. So Ian C, you can press unmute now and you'll have up to 1 minute.
Let's see if I can do 30 seconds serious, 30 seconds making fun of people. First, unite Eagle Rock, unite K-Town all the way up to Melrose in one district, unite Highland Park in one district, unite Silver Lake in one district, unite Shadow Hills in one district, group El Sereno, Lincoln Heights, and Boyle Heights in one district, unite Chinatown, return South Park to CD9 and break up DTLA corruption, return Expo Park and USC to 8, protect Armenian representation in the East Valley, and oppose the whites-only CD3 remake. Okay, now I'm going to do an impression of a lot of the callers. Hi, my name is Elder White Person. My family has lived in LA for a combined 837 years. I own a $2.5 million home on the west side. I have never been south of the 10, and I own 3 rental properties that I have never visited. Please continue to ignore census data and listen to only Mitch O'Farrell and Nuri Martinez's requests as you ignore data and do exactly as we want.
Thank you, Speaker. Your time is up. We now like to hear from speaker who's calling in over the phone, ending in phone number 445. So if you're calling in and your phone number ends in 445, please press *6 right now. And when you do, we'll be able to see you're unmuted and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Lillian Hamilton. I've been a resident of 25 years for CD3 Canoga Park. But I want to thank the commission for their countless volunteering hours and redistricting the process. I speak for myself and so many neighbors that I have who couldn't be here this morning to let the commission know that we support the stakeholder map 57666 and more than strongly oppose map 625 NL. So I urge you all, please, the commission, to review the map 5766. From the bottom of my heart, I beg you, please. And thank you again for all this time. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Our next group of speakers, we're going to hear from Maynard, then Gary Fordyce, then Mary Raj Swing. So Maynard, we're going to try to hear from you again. You're our next speaker. You should be able to unmute yourself. And when you do, you'll have up to 1 minute to give your statement. Once again, our next speaker is Maynard. We're calling on you again to hear from you. All right, we're just going to keep moving down the list to hear from our next speaker, Mary Raj Swing. So Mary Rod Swing, you're our next speaker. Go ahead and unmute yourself. And when you do, you have up to 1 minute to give your statement.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I'd like to echo John Gresham's comment about rumored non-public changes to the existing map K25, which I support. I also want to thank the commissioners for scheduling so much public comment, which you have done so with grace and empathy. I live in the Wilton Historic District, Greater Wilshire neighborhood area. Although I'm very active in my community, I've never heard of the People's Block or Ground Game, and before that, the Koreatown Redistricting Task Force. I rely on the elected members of both my local neighborhood associations and Greater Wilshire Neighborhood Council, as well as local media for unbiased, objective information. Therefore, I trust that the opinions of any hired political group will not outweigh the views of actual residents, who will be directly affected, one and all, by the redistricting changes you are proposing. Once again, as stakeholder, I support map K25 if the eastern boundary of our new council District 5 is Western Avenue, officially the western boundary of Koreatown.
Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next group of speakers are going to include the following names: Kim Richter, Anthony Ashume, and Raquel Avelar. So Kim Richter, you are our next speaker. We'd love to hear from you. You should be able to unmute yourself now. And when you do, you'll have up to 1 minute to give your statement.
Hello, thank you for calling on me. My name is Kim Richter and I'm a resident of Ladera. I'm a new homeowner in this neighborhood and I wish to voice my strong opposition to our community being moved out of CD 11 and to CD 8. Our longtime neighbors have related how dismal the public services were before we became part of CD 11, and I therefore strongly oppose being moved out of Westchester. It will be detrimental to our community that has made many positive advances since becoming part of CD 11. We heard earlier from a speaker about how CD 8 and 9 have been disinvested. And my neighbors and I question to what degree this particular case of redistricting is racially motivated and furthers the segregation of Black communities in Los Angeles. Thank you.
Okay, we appreciate your comments. Our next speaker is Anthony Ashume or Aksume. So Anthony, go ahead and unmute yourself. And when you do, you'll have up to 1 minute to give your statement.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. My name is Anthony Aksume. I live in Highland Park and I support map K2.5 with the following corrections. I would like our portion of Highland Park to be included in CD 14. I asked the commission to return our portion of Highland Park to CD 14, move lines back out of Chinatown and ensure York Boulevard business is back in CD 14. This allows for us to continue to work with CD 14 in improving our neighborhoods as we have for decades now. Thank you for your time.
All right, appreciate your comments. Our next speaker, Raquel Avelar. Raquel Avelar, you can go ahead and unmute yourself now and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment as well. So once again, our next speaker is Raquel Avelar. Once you unmute yourself, we'd love to hear from you. You'll have up to 1 minute. Okay, we're going to continue to go down the speakers list. And if we called your name, we will.
Hello,
Oh, there
hola.
she is. There, hello, good morning.
Sí, hola. ¿Me
Hola,
escuchan?
por favor. Sí.
Hola, buenas tardes. Sí, mi nombre es Raquel Avelar y estoy hablando por la comunidad Community Coalition y para pedir justicia por la equidad para el surcentro de Los Ángeles. Estamos necesitando que el Distrito 8 tenga de nuevo la universidad que se ha dejado a un lado. El museo, el Distrito 9 puede adquirir otras partes del centro, como necesitamos esos espacios para que nuestra comunidad pueda prosperar, pueda caminar para las nuevas generaciones. Muchas gracias.
We also appreciate hearing from you as well. Our next group of speakers include the following names: Monica Vacas, Robert Reeves, and Rob. So Monica Vacas, you are our next speaker. You will have up to 1 minute as well once you unmute yourself, and we'd love to hear from you. Once again, our next speaker, Monica Vacas, you should be able to unmute yourself. And there you are.
Hello, good afternoon,
Hello.
everyone. Thank you for taking your time to let us speak. I'm speaking today as a stakeholder. I am president of the Sun Valley Area Neighborhood Council, and we are preparing a CIS, which will be approved on Tuesday to present in opposition to this new proposed mapping. We're doing great with 2 cities, with 2 districts. You're trying to put another one in, 3. We made a lot of progress in 10 years by dividing ourselves into 3 different council members. It only makes it more difficult. And I don't know if it was, this map was thought out. Not to get off the subject real quick, but when the defunding, if it took 1 police off my streets, I couldn't afford it. It wasn't a matter of being political. It was that I couldn't afford 1 less policeman on my streets because it was the best. It was not good for my community. Therefore, this map is not good for my community. So I need for you to revise this situation and please allow us to present our CIS and we'll tell you in details why we feel this way.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, speaker, for your comment. Our next speaker, Robert Reeves, go ahead and unmute yourself. And when you do, you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment. So once again, Robert Reeves is our next speaker.
Thank you. You can hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Thank you. My name is Robert Reeves. I'm the president of the Ridgewood Wilton Neighborhood Association. Our association is part of the community of interest centered on Larchmont and in the Greater Wilshire Neighborhood Council. Our association strongly supports MAP 2.5, K 2.5. We applaud the principles enunciated as the basis for your work and hope that you continue to rely on them. Thank you very much for your service.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker is Rob. Rob, you should be able to unmute yourself. And when you do, you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment.
Hi, Rob Kwan. I want to start by saying every Lincoln Heights voter moved from CD1 to 14 will also end up going 7 years without voting for a council member. With regards to Commissioner Barrett's ex parte disclosure, that seems like something commission staff or redistricting partners could and should integrate that equity data into the current draft map so we can appreciate that. With Koreatown, I think back to the Southern Regions report and their clear preference for a divided Koreatown, and I worry that Chair Ali is knowingly setting them up for failure. I have a really hard time believing Mark Ridley Thomas won't carve up Koreatown and split it in half when it gets to council. I think you should stop letting Kevin De Leon hoard downtown LA as South LA and the rest of the East Side fight for scraps. The lessons of Jose Huizar illustrate the inherent dangers of leaving all of the money and power of downtown LA within the free reign of 1 single council member. It's also inherently dividing East Side communities. It's also insulting that Chair Ali continues to claim this commission is not considering issues of incumbency. Everyone heard you proactively speak about the importance of commissioners being aware of how lines might impact incumbents.
Thank you, Speaker.
Lying about the record does more to undermine this commission's work and alleged values than anything else you could do.
Thank you, Speaker, for your comments. Our next group of speakers include the following names: Claudia Q, Moises Hernandez, and Tani K. So Claudia Q, you're our next speaker. Go ahead and unmute yourself. And when you do, you'll have up to 1 minute to give your statement. Once again, our next speaker is Claudia. There you are.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you all for your time. Give me a second. I was driving. I just wanted to express my opposition to move my neighborhood in Highland Park to CD1. We do not have a relationship at this time with the office of Gil Cedillo, and we did not vote for him. So please, I beg that you consider to keep my area of Highland Park in the Council District 14. We elected Kevin De Leon, now Gil Cedillo. We want to continue to be in Council District 14, and hopefully, as a constituents, you hear our pleas, and a change will happen. Thank you so much.
We appreciate hearing from you, Speaker. Our next speaker is Moises Hernandez. So Moises Hernandez, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll have a
can you hear me?
as well. Loud and clear.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. My name is Moses Hernandez. Like the previous speaker, I am a resident of Highland Park.
north of Yorktown. And I'm calling to voice my support of map K25 with the following corrections. I ask the commission to return this portion of Highland Park back to CD 14 to ensure York businesses corridor is back in CD 14 in order to allow our businesses to grow and to improve our neighborhoods as it has been going on for decades now. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment as well. Our next speaker is going to be Tani K, followed by DJ Frank, Karen Gilman, and Gerardo. So Tani K, you're our next speaker. Go ahead and you'll have up to a minute.
Thank you. My name is Tani Kea. I do live in Highland Park, and I am also calling to ask that Highland Park remain in CD 14. The Highland Park Senior Center, the Arroyo Seco Library, the York businesses, and especially the Tiny Homes Village. Kevin De Leon has been the driving force behind the Tiny Homes Village, and Gil Cedillo has had nothing to do with it. We voted for Kevin De Leon. We want to stay in CD 14. I hear over and over people saying that they support map K25, but they want changes made. So obviously, even the people who are in favor of the current map are not completely supporting it. If you would use the neighborhood council districts and keep each neighborhood in a city council district, I think you would solve a lot of the problems. A lot of the people don't want to have their neighborhood split up into multiple districts. Please keep the neighborhood councils together. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment, speaker. Our next speaker, DJ Frank. DJ Frank's our next speaker. You can unmute yourself and you'll have up to a minute as well.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right, very good. Thank you, commissioners, for all your hard work on what's surely a difficult process. I'm DJ Frank, president of the Reseda Neighborhood Council. Map K2.5 as presented fulfills what the Reseda Council has expressed in their CIS statement in terms of keeping Reseda whole and not splitting along dangerous street lines. Now, but on the other hand, as a stakeholder, I appreciate that map K2.5 does its best to keep the San Fernando Valley whole and minimizes splitting it with communities from over the hill. I'm concerned, however, in the assignments of districts in this map, since any stakeholders that get moved out of CD3 and into CD4-2 will be disenfranchised of the right to choose who represents them for an additional 2 years. Any determination of CD3's location should be based on where the bulk of CD3's current population goes to minimize this damage. Therefore, the assignment of CD3 to the southern district and CD24 to the northern districts should be reversed. Also, there's been mention of a stakeholder map 5766, which also would be in line with what the Reseda Council expressed. It also corrects the issue. Oh, sorry.
All right, thank you, speaker. Our next speaker is Karen Gilman. Karen Gilman, you should be able to unmute yourself now. And when you do, you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment.
So Rob, I gotta promote her to a panelist. So let me do that and then make sure her, Karen, if you accept that, then you can speak. I'm gonna ask you to unmute and let's turn off your camera. Karen, if you'd like to go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Karen Gilman. I'm an officer of the Larchmont Village Neighborhood Association. Lived in Larchmont for 34 years. Thanks again to the commission for your tireless efforts. I applaud and support the commission's decision to release a single final draft map, Plan K2.5. Plan K2.5 keeps Larchmont and Greater Wilshire and the Greater Wilshire Neighborhood Council whole in Council District 5. We are all now included in a single district with neighbors to the west who share our interests, values, and concerns, parks, schools, and even local newspapers, synagogues, and churches. Furthermore, I appreciate the Commission's transparency and dedication to the inclusion of public comment in its deliberations. I ask that going forward, the GWNC Community of Interest Greater Wilshire Neighborhood Council is kept intact in Council District 5. And thanks again for following your redistricting process and not succumbing to gerrymandering politics. Thanks again.
Appreciate your comment, speaker. Our next speaker is Cheryl M, followed by caller ending in phone number 874, followed by Laura Myers. So once again, our next speaker is going to be Cheryl M. We appreciate your patience. We'd love to hear from you. You can unmute yourself now. And when you do, you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment. Once again, Cheryl M., you're our next speaker. You can unmute yourself now. Okay, well, we're going to continue down the line, and we'll still be able to hear from Cheryl before. Oh, there they are. Let's try it one more time. Let's give Cheryl M. an opportunity to unmute themselves. Okay, well, we'll figure it out before we get done with today's meeting. We're going to go on to the next person in our list.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Okay, let me just be patient. Go ahead. You'll have up to a minute.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank the commissioners for this time. And I would like to say I do not support all of K25 MAP, but would like to have amendments and changes. I currently live in CD3, obviously, which includes currently Warner Center, Woodland Hills, Tarzana, Reseda, Winnetka, and Canoga Park. And specifically, District 3 should remain the same and include the cities currently included. And it should add more, not take away. The K2 mapping would separate Woodland Hills, Warner Center, and Tarzana into another district. And if the K25 map is approved, it would be a disservice to the community, and it would fragment the community. And instead of bringing communities together, it would fragment it. Also, it would.
Thank you, Speaker. Your time was up. I was trying to give you a heads up. Our next speakers are going to include the following names. Caller ending in phone number 874. Caller ending in 874, you're our next speaker. And so you'll press *6 to unmute yourself, followed by Laura Myers and Gary Fordyce. So our next speaker, caller 874, we can see you're unmuted. You'll have up to a minute.
Hi, Commissioners. I would suggest that Studio City be included in CD3 because it's very similar to communities like Sherman Oaks, which in many ways is our sister neighborhood. As someone actually, I think 2 people said this earlier, but if Studio City isn't ultimately included in CD3, I would approve of the proposed district that Studio City is on map K2.5 if it's designated CD4 and represented by Nithya Raman. It's alarming that less than a third of Ms. Raman's constituents would remain in her district if she's somehow assigned to a council district in the Northwest Valley. None of those Angelinos who voted for her would be represented by her, and that would obviously be a real detriment. I hope my comment will be incorporated and addressed. I would also like to applaud your service on this commission. I serve on my local neighborhood council, so in a small way, I can begin to appreciate all the dedication and service you have provided to our city and our communities. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Speaker. We're glad to hear from all the public comments. We've heard from dozens of callers and attendees this morning, and we still have several more to hear from. We'd love to hear from Laura Myers next. Laura Myers, you're our next speaker. You should be able to unmute yourself, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your testimony as well.
Thank you very much. My name is Laura Myers. As you know, I've spoken before. I'm an officer at United Neighborhoods Neighborhood Council, but I am speaking personally today. And I'd like to talk again about collaboration, consensus, kindness. We shouldn't have our neighborhoods be competing with each other. The commission, I hope, would actually try to address all of these current concerns without splitting. The solidarity plan we heard about earlier today, once again, proposes to divide my personal neighborhood right down the middle of a residential street. It would divide my neighborhood, Angeles Vista, it would divide Western Heights, it would divide Country Club Park, and there's no need for it. You could keep the boundary, eastern boundary of CD10, and as you have it in K2.5, eastern boundary of United Neighborhoods at Normandy. We are a BIPOC community, as you've been hearing, and we have worked really hard to create assets on Washington Boulevard, not to divide them between 2 council districts. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your statement. Our next speaker is Gary Fordyce. Gary Fordyce, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment.
Thank you. Gary Fordyce, 45-year resident of North Hills West, supporting map K 2.5. Thank you for keeping the Northwest Valley whole in Council District 12. We have one problem. A tiny little strip of Aqueduct Street on the west end, I'm sorry, forgive me, east end of Council District 12, Aqueduct Street between Nordhoff and Lassen appears to have been a mistake in map drawing. Just that tiny portion is going to Council District 7. Please keep North Hills West whole and restore that street to Council District 12 and keeping North Hills West whole as well. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next group of speakers are going to include the following names: Brittany Nichols, caller ending in phone number 663, and Saray Rogers. So Brittany Nichols, you're our next speaker. You should be able to unmute yourself, and when you do, you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment.
You have rich person after rich white person attacking ground game for encouraging people to participate in this process because they don't want anyone besides themselves to get a say. Y'all know nothing about the city beyond the people that share your racist, classist interests. And why do y'all always claim that people calling in don't live in LA? That's a literal right-wing talking point. No matter how many times you get on here and insist that everyone that disagrees with you doesn't live here or has a secret agenda, no one believes you. Why are you bragging that your family has been doing racist shit for 50 years? I truly hope that people have enough sense to see through these callers that support what's happening to CD2 and CD4. They're not even good at hiding their races. Could y'all pay someone to come up with better talking points? Because this is embarrassing. How you gonna say everyone else is politically motivated while your entire comment is about how Nithya and her supporters are bad? Your assertion that only rich white people are capable of being unbiased is both racist and besides the point. This is a political process, you idiots. The council members appointed these people.
Thank you, speaker. Your time is up. Our next speaker is caller ending in phone number 663. So caller ending in 663, our next speaker, you got to press *6. There you are. And now we can hear you. You'll have up to a minute.
Hi, my name is Phyllis Ling. I'm a board member of Historic Cultural North Neighborhood Council, which represents Chinatown, El Pueblo, Solano Canyon, and Victor Heights. But I'm just speaking on my own behalf. I'm calling to advocate for a change in the K2.5 map. The K2.5 map divides Chinatown. Chinatown is currently represented entirely by CD1, but for some reason the K2.5 map has moved parts of the southern parts of Chinatown to CD14. And this includes the gates of Chinatown, Cafe Manor, which is a 16-story largest senior housing development, and then also G-Apartments and other resources from CD1 to CD14. So it seems like it would be a way to also address if you could keep Chinatown whole, all in CD1, and instead of moving parts to CD14, that might be a way to hopefully rebalance some of the population, since some other neighborhoods want to stay in CD14 instead of moving to CD1.
Thank you.
So
Your time is
that's
up.
my comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Our next group of speakers include the following names: Saray Rogers, Owen Smith, and Robbie Davis. So Saray Rogers, I believe you tried to speak earlier. We'd like to hear from you now. You can unmute yourself and you'll have up to a minute.
Thank you, sir. And yeah, sorry about earlier. I hit lower hand when I thought the mute was the button. Just a quick question though. Do we get 30 more time if we're neighborhood council?
Neighborhood councils have to submit a CIS form, as we've mentioned before, and we'll do another announcement before the end. Would you still like to give comment today with your 1 minute?
Yes.
All right,
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
And I will keep it brief. Thank you. And thank you for the clarification. My issue is regarding CD8, and as a stakeholder there, I want to be clear about that. I am a neighborhood council member and stakeholder in CD8, but I do not live there. I'm very familiar with the issues. I just live in Inglewood, So, and I also am familiar with those issues enough to say that they are pretty much the same issues. And I am requesting the Redistricting Commission to take a look at combining Inglewood and CD8's neighborhood councils and local issues to be on the ballot, and where the citizens of CD8 can vote without ID. If I'm not mistaken, there are neighborhood councils in CD8 that are the only neighborhood councils that are required to submit ID. I just think that's a little bit unfair, but I'll do my best
Thank
as
you,
a neighborhood
Speaker.
council member. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speaker, Owen Smith. Owen Smith, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you will also have up to 1 minute to give your statement.
My name is Owen Smith, and I've lived in the Brookside neighborhood of Greater Wilshire for over 40 years. Thank you for map K2.5. It places Greater Wilshire exactly where we belong, all of us together in CD5. Now, I have lived in the Wilshire area for over 60 years and always in CD4 and liked our council person very much. And it's not that I'm in love with CD5, but Nithya in CD4 left us. We didn't want to leave her. We just want someone that's going to give us some attention. And I don't believe that we have gotten it with under the present council person. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Our next speaker is Robbie Davis. Robbie Davis, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you will also have up to 1 minute to give your comment.
So Rob, I have to promote her to a panelist. So Robbie, I'm giving you a heads up that you're going to be promoted. Accept the link, and I will make sure that you can speak. It looks like you don't have a microphone available at this moment. Robbie, let's get back to you and see maybe if you can restart your computer and log back on, because we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, well, we're going to go ahead. We're going to allow for this technical situation to be figured out. In the meantime, if you are attending, we still have well over 150 folks attending today's meeting. If you have not given public testimony, you can press the raise hand function on your screen, or if you're calling in, you can press *9 and we'll add you to the speakers list. All right. Our next speaker is calling in over the phone, and their phone number ends in the digits 178. So caller ending in 178, go ahead and press *6 to unmute yourself. Oh, but once again, caller ending in 178, press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your statement.
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, great. My name is Sophie. I lived in Hancock Park for over 20 years, literally on the same street as many of the previous HOA callers. And I want to make it really clear that their opinions do not reflect the feelings of many of us in the neighborhood. And listening to the callers is very telling. The wealthy white HOA members, like MAP K2.5, and renters, working class people, immigrants, and non-white Angelinas have major concerns. It's funny because you guys pat yourself on the back to the equity of this map, but it's clearly not actually shaking out in how the people support it. MAP K2.5 is an embarrassment. Krikorian and Rahman won those districts less than a year ago with support from over 100,000 voters, and this map erases every single one of them. But a tiny group of people can override the will of the majority is an embarrassment. Passing this map would be like Biden winning the presidency in 2020, and then less than a year later, a tiny handful of people just redraw the borders of the United States and are like, oops, sorry, to the majority of the US citizens who voted for Biden, but actually he's president of Canada now. And you guys don't even get him, you just get somebody else who didn't.
Thank you, Speaker. Didn't mean to cut you off, but your time was up. I do believe we're going to hear from Robbie Davis after all. So we want to make sure our next speaker, Robbie Davis, has permission to speak, and they'll also have up to 1 minute.
Oh, great. So Robbie, we've made you panelist, and if you unmute yourself, you'll be able to speak.
Yes, previously I was removed from the meeting. But anyway, I can't really say thank you, commissioners, because right now I'm speaking as a stakeholder of the community governed by the Neighborhood Council of Park Mesa Heights. They presented to you the fact that we could not accept any map that would not return USC in Exposition Park. Map K2.5 does not do that. On September 20th, all of you commissioners concluded that CD8 had no economic engine and that it would be the height of inequity. So what I say to you now, MAP K 2.5 not only condones inequity, but it affirms it. So I am asking you to please don't be ingenuous in saying that you're committed to equity and specifically racial equity and think that this map does something for us, because it does not.
Thank you, Speaker. Your time is up. We appreciate your comment. Chair Ali, there are currently no participants with their hands raised to give public comment. We can wait a minute.
Hey, thanks, Rob. We'll just wait a minute, and then I think we'll bring the meeting to a close.
Okay, I'm starting to see a handful of hands going up. So we definitely want to hear from everyone who's raised their hand. So our next group of speakers are going to include the following names. Caller ending in phone number 719, followed by Sarah Delighten and Larry Guzine. So caller ending in phone number 719, go ahead and press *6 to unmute yourself. And when you do, you'll have up to 1 minute to give your statement.
Hello, yeah, it's Eric Previn from Studio City calling. Like
All right,
give
go
a
ahead.
comment.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
you have a 2 minute.
Okay, thanks. I'm a little bit concerned about K25 for some of the reasons that have come up. Obviously, Nithya Raman was elected by the largest number of voters of any city council member in the history of the city council. She's the greatest of all time. And that movement was spectacular in a way because it involves progressives who cross all sorts of boundaries, not about lines in the sand, but a community of people. And since they put her in office, to radically upend the table that she was elected to serve at is extremely suspicious, I would say. So I think that this needs to be rethought. I don't think that there's support for the 2-4, I don't even know what to call it. It's kind of like a roulette game. There's been lots of speakers who have participated from that community and from those communities.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up. All right. Hey, sorry to interrupt you, but your time was up, Speaker. Our next speaker is Sarah Delighten. Sarah Delighten or Delighten, go ahead and unmute yourself now, and you'll also have up to a minute to give your statement. And if we mispronounce your name, you can correct me.
No, I'm impressed you said my last name right, Rob. Thank you. So I'm Sarah Delighten. I'm an artist and facilitator who focuses on civic engagement. I'm based in downtown Los Angeles, so CD14. I've been a longtime resident and small business owner here. I just want to strongly encourage making a district that includes all of downtown Los Angeles, including neighborhoods as it makes sense around. I have been concerned working with CD14 directly with some of my work and CD1 that the kind of long north-south span of each of those has just made organizing difficult with neighbors just because of the strong geographic and political economic differences that are going on. So I just want to encourage a centralized, more centralized approach with both of those districts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Larry Guzine. Larry Guzine, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll also have up to a minute to give your statement.
Good afternoon. My name is Larry Guzin. Thank you to the commissioners for all of your efforts. I am and have been a resident in Windsor Square since 1977. That's 44 years. I'm president of the Windsor Square Association, which is a nonprofit neighborhood association representing the interests of residents of 1,100 homes in our historic district, from Wilshire Boulevard on the south to Beverly Boulevard on the north, from Van Ness Avenue on the east to Arden Boulevard on the west. Windsor Square should be joined with all other Greater Wilshire Neighborhood Council neighborhoods in one council district, and the Windsor Square Association is in favor of MAP K2.5, sharing community of interest with neighborhoods to the west of Windsor Square. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Our next speakers include Adam, call-in user 5, and Zach Villette. So Adam is our next speaker. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, and you also have up to 1 minute to give your statement. Once again, our next speaker is Adam. There you
Hi.
are.
There I am. My name's Adam Smith. I'm a dad. I'm a really creative artist, and I'm an organizer. And yeah, I mean, just to lift up some of the points that have already been made, I mean, it's pretty unnerving, unnervingly ridiculous, I might say, that Nithya Raman, following the biggest outpouring of voters in the history of the city council, is now looking at being basically upended. And I wonder if the commissioners of this commission think critically about what you represent if what comes out of this is that the a working class woman of color who mobilized that many votes during a pandemic is pushed aside. What does that say about all of you? Peace.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker is identified as call-in user _5. So call-in user 5, go ahead and unmute yourself now. We'd love to hear from you. You'll also have up to 1 minute to give your statement.
Hello?
Go ahead, we can hear you. Yeah. Hello?
Hi, this is Mike. I'm calling from Valley Glen. I'm calling from the Valley Glen Park right now, where I was talking to a whole bunch of other parents if our community should be split, and I did not find one person who believed that that should be occurring. Valley Glen needs to be united with the remainder of North Hollywood. We have much in common. We've been working together, and these are communities of interest that should not be divided. They're also dividing my neighbors and friends of the Armenian community. That should not be occurring either. Thank you for your work. Please fix this now.
Okay. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for your comment. And our next speaker is Zach Villette. Zach Villette, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you'll have up to 1 minute to give your comment. So once again, our next speaker is Zach Villette. There you are. Go ahead and unmute. You have up to 1 minute.
Yeah, I'm calling to echo the comments about CD4. I think it's outrageous that someone who Nithya Raman, who got the most votes ever in a city council event, is now just being totally drawn off the map. I mean, you couldn't ask for sort of a more glaring example of disenfranchisement. And then, because of that in CD3, I mean, if someone told you that a council member hired a secessionist to be a commissioner to draw a map to remove 25% of the Latino population and replace it with 25% more white people to make the district 70% white, you'd think that would happen in a red state, but no, it's happening here in blue Los Angeles. Bob Blumenfeld very clearly trying to segregate his district into a incredibly white, wealthy district. And I think it's appalling.
Thank you. All right, Chair Ali, there are no other hands raised.
Okay, thank you, Rob, very, very much. And I want to bring public testimony to a close now. And in so doing, I just really want to thank you, Rob, once again, for doing such a good job, along with Ariana, managing this queue and managing a really effective and efficient process. So thank you. And I also want to recognize and thank our interpreters as well. So before I go to ex parte disclosures and then a meeting adjournment, I just want to mention that, as I said at the start of the meeting, we have scheduled an additional meeting for the commission to consider modifications to K2.5 and that meeting's on the 18th, and then we're also scheduled on the 21st to make a final decision on a map. But in thinking about our timeline over the last couple days, I would also like to make room, unless there is opposition from the and Rob, can I have the full gallery view now, please? Thank you. Unless there is opposition from the commission, I would, beginning Wednesday and then again on Saturday, I would like to start making room in our meeting to begin discussing modifications to K2.5. We've had a lot of testimony with people making suggestions on how the map might be improved. We asked for specific testimony when we put out the map on a specific items. And so we're getting a lot of testimony that relates to all of that. And I think we're at a point where, in the interest of time, we can start thinking about some modifications to the map going forward. So that would mean that we would split our meeting on Wednesday and we would split our meeting on Saturday between public testimony as well as beginning to discuss modifications to the map. That would also allow the public, consistent with our protocols, to see how those modifications were being discussed and considered moving forward. So unless there is opposition to that, that's what I would like to propose. Yes, Sonia, excuse me, Commissioner Diaz, I'm sorry.
Thanks for that. I think one of the things, we're at a point right now where an additional level of analysis would be really helpful in the COI. And so one of the things that's difficult is the ability to search by date. So I'd like that to be added. And then if there could be some just initial descriptive statistics by either we could do region or something else, that would be really helpful as a way to better narrow what is being said to the particular parts of K2.5. And
Right.
so I think that discussion is good, but I think that discussion would be better aided if we all had the same starting point document that was high level.
Yeah, and we will attempt to get that to you, Commissioner. Thank you. Other suggestions? Okay, Commissioner Barrett.
Yes, I wonder whether we could look at an overlay of the equity index to give us more information about some of the key categories that have come up in public testimony are actually raw data that is objectively presented in the equity index, drivers of economic development, rent burden percentage of population. These are things that are coming up very pointedly in Region 1 and I believe it's Region 2 that's on the east side, and then for the Valley. And I think I agree with Commissioner Diaz that we would be well served by also getting to layer in that information.
Commissioner Kanya.
Thank you, Chair Ali. And very quickly, I just want to say I do support your recommendation, but I do want to point out a number of speakers today spoke about a map 57666. It does not appear to be on Districtor. So Ariana, or if some of the staff could try to find us 57666.
Yeah, we can look for it, but as we've mentioned in past meetings, and it's on our website and then through various communications with the public, we stopped accepting maps on October 1st. That was what we had talked about.
But a sequential map of 5.7 would probably be quite before we cut off last week.
Oh, great. If that's the case, then I'm happy to, I'll look it up. But I just wanted to reaffirm to folks that the only reason Districtor is still up is to look at some of those overlays, but we're still in the process of figuring out the best way to get those overlays, like what Commissioner Barrett had brought up, out to everyone.
Frank, do you have you been ever able to locate 5766? Is it?
Mr. Chair, yes, I have. I've taken a look at 57666. It's an interesting innovation to map 2.5, K2.5. I haven't had time to do an in-depth in-depth analysis, there is a Voting Rights Act implication with respect to one of the two existing districts in the valley, namely Council District 6, with a dilution that would pose potentially significant Voting Rights Act considerations. Another aspect of 57666, just looking at it very briefly, is that in combining Sherman Oaks with Studio City to then become the Bridge District, there is a fairly significant portion of the West Hollywood Neighborhood Council area, which is both in the current CD 13 and also in the CD 13 as contemplated by map K 2.5. That's just my early take on the on 57666.
Yeah, and Frank, can you also mention, you've asked redistricting partners for some additional overlays. So do you want to explain that we think should be available to us, or either this weekend or early next week?
Yes, a very illustrative and informative tool that we've all gotten used to, I think, is on the Districtor platform, and that is the ability to see existing neighborhood councils, to see LA Times neighborhoods, and also to see existing council district lines. That has not yet been available. We have not been able to produce K2.5 in a way that enables members of the public and all of us to be able to layer those data elements. Redistricting Partners has assured us that they're working on it, and I hope to have some additional positive news on that very shortly.
Thank you, Frank, very, very much. So Paul, are you still on the line with us from Redistricting Partners? Okay, does not appear he is. All right. So thank you. So as I said, we'll get out an amendment to the currently posted agenda for both Wednesday and Sunday or Saturday. So at this point, I want to ask. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Suh.
I just raised my hand because I was just able to get onto the equity index map that Commissioner Barrett mentioned earlier. And I see that it includes the current districts, the current council districts. If we could also have a version of the socioeconomic and rent burdened map with the current K 2.5, that would enable us to make a comparison more easily. And I don't think it would be that hard to do, because it's really, it is about just showing those lines. So I wanted to ask if we could have that map as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Sun. We will do our best. Other comments? Okay, I want to go now to ex parte communications. Are there any disclosures that need to be made of communication that may have occurred during the meeting? Okay, I don't think I am seeing any. Well, then I am going to entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Mitchell. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
I think we had unanimous consent
On that we can agree.
To adjourn. And I want to wish everyone a good rest of your weekend, and stay safe, and we'll look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Thanks again for your commitment to this process. Have a good weekend.
Thank you to all our translators, court interpreter, closed captioners, as always. Thank you. Chris, is the closed captioning saved that you can send it to me? Great. Okay, thanks everyone.